Thank you, Sean. Can everybody hear me okay? Nope. Mic check.
Yes,
No. They are on.
Somebody's talking.
it was Elizabeth. I hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rowan here with Motility, and today I will be facilitating the accounting training for the group today. So the idea is, I know a lot of participants today are using the Infinity platform. However, I kind of want to start with Motility Anywhere, and then I kind of have examples set up for both platforms to kind of show you the similarities and difference between the both systems. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the accounting module for Motility Anywhere and kind of give you a high level overview, and we'll start with that. So course, you already know when you first log into the software on Motility Anywhere, this would be the layout of your main menu as opposed to how it looks in Infinity. I'm going to go ahead and select my accountant module. Oop, looks like it decided to kick me out. So let me go ahead and log right back in. Okay. Open up the accounting screen. Very similar to Infinity. If you are working between different or multiple locations, it's going to ask you which location you want to be looking at today. So I'm going to go ahead and select my location within Motility Anywhere. And a lot of this information on the screen is similar. Some of the layout is going to be a little bit different. So the first thing that you're going to be met with when you open up the accounting module is, unlike Infinity, where it's just going to be a blank screen until you start working, what we've done for you in Motility Anywhere is give you all the journals for this current month. So this is going to be everything that's been, brought over from parts and service or deal desking or any journal entries that's been made in the software for that current accounting period is going to be displayed for you right here on the main screen for you. Starting at the very top of our screen, we're going to have our layout or our search bar, sorry, where we can go in and kind of go ahead and search for those reference number. So if you are familiar with Infinity, it's going to be the same function. I'm going to switch screens for just a second. Go ahead and select my location once more. So if you are familiar with Infinity, it's going to be the same function at the bottom left of your screen right here, where you can kind of go in, type in that reference number to recall that journal entry. What we've done for you in Motility Anywhere instead is, yep, let's kind of put it at the top right there for you. So it's going to be very visible for you from the jump. You can kind of go in and kind of type your reference number in, and that system would recall that transaction for you just the same. To the very right of that, we're going to have the advanced search view, which is going to be the exact same thing as your search transactions. So this will still give you the ability to search for transaction if you don't remember what that reference number is, or you don't remember the date range, or you do remember the date range, or if there's anything, but very least you do remember the amount of that transaction, you can go ahead and type the dollar amount in, and it will go ahead and just pull that transaction or transactions with that specific dollar amount. So if I go ahead and hit search, I'm trying to see if I can find anything in here that was entered for $500. Looks like I have one transaction line for $500 tied to a looks like it is a clearing account for me. That way, it recalls a transaction tied to that, and I can open the screen up and look at that transaction based on that information that I've searched for. So let me hop right out of the screen. To the right, continuing at first glance right there will give you the option to view your current month and year in the software. So at the very top right there shows you month 3, 2024. And then to the right of that, we also have an indicator for you that highlights to you when the last time that transfer transaction routine has been ran for you. So if you are familiar with Infinity, transfer transaction is going to be a tool that runs in the background that moves your transactions over to the accounting module. Now we kind of added an indicator for you right there. So if something that you've been working on and you don't see it right away, this will be a good indicator to let you know whether or not it's within that time period if it got moved over to the accounting module. Jump into the main section of our screen where it shows the all journals. The layout is going to be pretty similar as far as like the columns of information you have available to you. So first option right there, I have my reference number, month, year, transaction date, so on and so forth, going down the list. Very unlike Infinity, we did give you the option to kind of add and remove these columns as needed. So all throughout Motility Anywhere, what you will notice is you have the ability to add and remove columns, or even to just to reorganize your screens as needed. If you ever need to do that within the accounting module, it's just a matter of hitting the little 3 dots or ellipsis right here on any one of these columns. You drop down to your column section, then you have the option to add and remove information. So if you see from my layout, I have the company number and the code removed, which is going to be the journal codes. But if I am interested in that information, it's just a matter of going back to that screen and re-add my company number. It went ahead and updated my screen. And say, for example, I wanted to see transactions date right next to my reference numbers. I can move it around, go to the bottom right of my screen right here, hit save layout, and that will lock that in place for me. This is a individual user function that will save it for just that individual, just that specific profile. So you know, if you do prefer specific views, you can customize the accounting screen to what you need it to be specifically. Continuing on within.
Hey, quick question for you, Rowan.
Go ahead, Sam.
So if I'm in Infinity, and I click on, one of the filter boxes, how do I remove that? Because it's not a drop down, like if I'm working on the alerts or even on the posted, unposted.
So I'm going to switch over to Infinity. So maybe you can give me some better direction. All right. So I saw your question in the chat. You're saying, how do you remove the filters on columns like alerts or posted? Not sure exactly what you mean by that, but I am in Infinity right now. If you want to kind of,
Okay, so go to like all journals.
Okay.
So if you click on the alerts to filter,
The column.
yeah, now filter on it. So go down and click so you only see the checked boxes.
Okay.
Okay. So then how do you uncheck that so that it shows everything again? Because now
So
it
when
won't,
does it just remove everything altogether?
it won't reset.
So hit reset grids.
Where was that again? Hold on. Go
So
back.
in tools at the very bottom of your list, there's going to be an option that says reset grids.
Okay.
And whenever you make any changes in accounting, especially where your grids are concerned, you want to just close out of the module and relaunch it, and it should refresh it. So that's what I'm going to
Okay.
do right now to see if
So
it
you
does.
just have to go out and come back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So let me just double check it right now, and the alerts are back, including everything else for me.
Yep. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was another way, like a right click or some other option besides leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be this reset grids option right here.
Okay.
All right. All right. So additionally, what I was saying within Motility Anywhere is from your main screen right here, depending on what journal you're looking at, you can always just highlight transactions to get like an overview of what is contained within that transaction. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy as far as how this layout looks unlike Infinity, but if you just wanted to hop right into the transaction, it's just a matter of double clicking the screen. We'll take you right into that transaction if you're trying to see all lines similar to how Infinity shows it. And then you can go, kind of go in and get to work if you need to go ahead and make a modification or just view the transactions. If you do need to open a transaction within Motility Anywhere, it's just a matter of hitting the edit button to unlock that transaction so you can go in and start, doing what you need to do as far as like your day-to-day is concerned. Any questions to me so far on differences or similarity between Infinity or Motility Anywhere? Awesome. All right. So moving on to the left-hand side of our screens, we kind of added a few quick links for you. So based on usage within Infinity, we kind of noticed that these are probably have been like the top few items that a lot of dealerships have been using throughout the years with Infinity. So the first one on our list right there is going to be print checks, where you go in to write checks and drafts. So I'll kind of give you a overview of what that looks like. Tell me that I have a batch in process. So very similar to Infinity, once you open up the check writing screen, it's going to ask you to choose your checking account. So I'm going to scroll down and select one of my checking account. And just an FYI, these checking accounts will be available from a setup in the CRM screen. If you have been using Infinity for a while, this is probably already set up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and select my checking account. Right below that, I'm going to have 4 buttons available to me. First one is just to create a check, and that's going to be me just writing a single check. The second option is going to be if I wanted to go through and search for checks that's been written or checks that's not been printed yet that I wanted to get back to. We have a auto check writing button right here that works in conjunction with Motility Pay that Josh will be going over a little bit later as well. And the cancel option right here is pretty self-explanatory. It's just me exiting the screen. If I jump right into create a check, it's going to open my check writing screen. The layout is, I believe, is pretty similar to Infinity as well. You know, your existing checks or checks that have been printed or voided or any checks you've been worked on in the past is going to show up right here on your left-hand column to kind of detail where that information has been. We're going to have more information on the check right here to the right. Then we're going to have our payee information right here to the further right as well. Within Motility Anywhere, we do have the option to kind of customize this view if you need to. So if you go to your little ellipsis right here, we have a show advanced view. And this actually affects a few other functions throughout the software as well. One is going to be right here in the check writer. The other one is going to be somewhere in Deal Desking, and another one in Parts and Service. But what I can do is by looking at the advanced view, I can change how my check layout in the software looks. So if you prefer kind of seeing like a line by line itemization of the check details or payee information, you can uncheck that view to make it look very similar to this screen. Personally, I prefer the other method where I can just look at the advanced view and kind of have everything broken out into different columns for me or different boxes. So I have my basic check information right here where it tells me the date the check's being written, transaction month, the posted month and year, and which journal that check is going to be written to. Right to the right of that, I'm going to have my payee information. So I'm going to kind of go through and create a check for us right here in Motility Anywhere. And I can repeat that process in Infinity to kind of show you the similarities as well. So let me go ahead and get my payee information in here. You can go ahead and just type in the entity number if you know it off the top of your head, or I can click add existing entity, and that will pull my payee directly from the CRM module, or I can go ahead and just add a new customer or a new entity right here to go ahead and process that check for them. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in my payee information. So I went ahead and pulled in NTP. I'm going to be paying a vendor today. As I've entered my vendor information, 2 more boxes did become available for me. First option is I do have the ability to send an email message to my customer or to my payee directly from the screen. I also have the ability to hop right back into that entity if I need to adjust the information or adjust the remittance address, whatever the case may be. Moving down the list, I have some more check details right here. I'm going to have the status of the check, which kind of highlight for me, what status that check is going to be in. So from the drop down itself, it doesn't show any colors just yet. We are working on that to kind of make it very similar to what Infinity does show. However, once the check has been printed or processed, whether it's printed, voided, whatever the case may be, it will update to those colors on the left-hand side of your screen. I have the ability to select my check type, whether I'm doing a customer refund, standard check is going to be my default, stock purchase, floor plan, or floor plan interest. I'm going to have the amount of the check that's going to be written. That GL account right here is going to be the GL tied to my gateway checking account. That's going to be highlighted for me right here at the top left of the screen. I also have my next check number highlighted for me as well on that check writing screen. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just process one of these payments. So I am going to use my last one on the list right here. Very similar to Infinity, I can kind of go through and highlight each one of these ones that I want to pay. I can do a pay all option. The choice is going to be yours if you want to go ahead and pay all or just pay them individually. I can even do a partial payment if I prefer that option as well, where I can just type in the specific amount that I want to type it or pay for this specific vendor today and just process that partial payment as opposed to a full payment. So looks like on this very last line right here, excuse me, I owe NTP roughly $5,400, $5,340. I'm going to go ahead and hit pay. And then you'll see where the software, very similar to Infinity, will kind of go down there and break out the transaction for me. So I'm paying for invoice 2298. My debits and credits have already been fulfilled for me right here at the bottom of the screen. And all looks to be in balance. If you ever have any questions whether it's balanced or not, you can always hop down to the bottom left of your screen right here to see if your debits and credits do align. And they do for me right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and to the bottom of my screen and print my check. Just an overview of the options that we do have at the bottom of the screen. Have our exit button. I can add an alert to the check if I wanted to add an alert. So if there's any research that I wanted to do while I'm writing the check, or if I want to come back to it a little bit later, I can leave an alert for anybody else on my team who needs to who may need to see that alert and tell them, don't print this check just yet, doing some research. I'll get back to it eventually.
You have a question, Marlon.
What was that question?
What is the best practice for recording an invoice paid via ACH?
The best practice for recording a invoice paid via ACH. So at the very top of our screen right here, we have that auto drive button. So if I'm writing just a physical check, the 9046 in our example right here would be my next check number. But if you're doing ACH, and you check off that auto drive button, what the software will do is kind of give you a check number column right here with the current date. And then you can use your ACH confirmation number at the top right there if you wanted to record as an ACH payment. And the process will still be the same. You just kind of go through and write the check. It'll stamp it with that confirmation number as an ACH payment. And you should be good going forward. So, button. I'm just going to continue as ACH. So the final step for me right here is to go ahead and print my check. But looking from my screen, looks like I need to approve it. So you can set approvals in the software if you have like a junior accountant, or you kind of want to verify that the check's going out the door, or need some kind of approval or sign off before they do get printed. If that approval is needed, it's just where you'll go in at the bottom of the check right here, hit approve, and that individual can go in now and print that check as needed. Even though I started the process right in just a singular check, I can always switch back to that auto check writing option right here within that individual check if I change my mind and wanted to do a batch run as opposed to a single check. And I also have a Motility Pay option right here as well that will basically hand off that pay process to Motility. That way, if your vendor takes physical checks or V cards or however they take their payment, we can handle that process for you. So I'm going to continue on with just how everybody mostly do their checks. It's just going to go ahead and hit print. And as you can see, the software is going to go ahead and give me a printout or a remittance off that check. If this is a physical check, then this is where you'll kind of go in and process your check from the screen. It's giving me an error right here, probably because I don't have a printer connected, but that's fine. This is an ACH payment, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. And as you can see on the left-hand side of my screen right here, now my payment has been recorded for NTP for that $5,300. And they will be getting their check or their payment, however it is that I do decide to go ahead and process that for them. Any other questions for me on processing that check within Motility Anywhere? Is everybody good as far as like printing, checking Motility Anywhere? Does anybody need to see it in Infinity as well, or are we good to continue on in Motility Anywhere? All right, we'll just all right, I'll continue in Motility Anywhere until I hear otherwise. All right, so the next item that we have on our list, the quick link is going to be receiving payments on account. This process is exactly the same way as it is in Infinity as well. We'll have the header right here where we have the basic information for the payment that's being received. And right below that, we're going to have the customer details of the customer that we're receiving that payment from. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just show you another example of how this is very similar to Infinity. I'm going to either do a new entity or an existing entity. So I'm going to click Add Existing Entity. And I do know the entity number for my customers. I'm going to go ahead and just type their name in, their entity number in, sorry. 04. Going to hit search. Got a customer, Mr. Jones, right here. Going to hit OK to pull this information in. And as you can see, the line already appears to me saying that Mr. Jones owes us roughly $3,000 and change. So in this event, what I can do is I can go in and just record the payment. So say, for example, Mr. Jones doesn't have the full amount, but he's going to pay half of it. So he comes in with $1,500. Go ahead and type in that partial amount of $1,500. And just typing it in, you'll see that the software went ahead and just created the transaction for us as well. So I have a credit and debit of $1,500. But it looks like our first line right here is looking for some more information, which is going to be your debit line. So this is like essentially this is asking me where it is that I want to send this money that's being received in. So 9 out of 10 times it's probably going to be to a clearing account or directly to your checking account, depending on how your accounting process is. So I'm going to send mine to a clearing account just to go ahead and fulfill those red lines. And let me just double check to make sure that everything is in order. So I have no more red lines. But one thing we will need at the very top is going to be our reference number. Every transaction in the software does require a reference number. So I'm going to just go ahead and type this in. I'm going to make my reference number payment on account. And I will just go ahead and use the date for today. All right, so that's going to be my reference number. Tells me which journal is going to be posted to as well, which is going to be my Q1 or cash receipts journal. And then the last step for me is just to go to the very bottom of my screen and I can go ahead and hit the save button and that will lock that transaction in for me, reducing Mr. Jones's account balance to minus 1,500. And I will now see a transaction in my daily deposit screen because I sent it to the clearing account of $1,500 for that payment received in. All right, the next item moving right along is going to be our new warranty credit. So new warranty credit is going to be the same as just processing warranty credits, whether you're doing it from the parts and service side or you're doing it on the accounting side. Same exact screen. This one does look a little bit different in Motility Anywhere, but I'm going to go through on both platforms to kind of show the differences. So within the warranty credit screen, I'll have the option to go in and enter my warranty company information. So I'm going to go ahead and select my warranty company. Type in their entity number. It says Easy Care is my warranty company. I'm going to type in my reference number as well. Just going to make something up. Going to record my transaction date right here as well. I can filter for profit centers, but you know, most of my transactions do pull the profit center one regardless. So I'm going to leave that unchecked right there. And I can go ahead and even add a memo similar to Infinity, where I can add a memo to the specific warranty credit that's being received. Now, if you notice, the difference between Motility Anywhere is within Infinity, that line for you is already there for you to kind of hit the drop down and select the warranty or the warranty claim that's being paid. Within Motility Anywhere, we have a new add new item button for you to go ahead and hit and create that column. So what I'll do is hit new, saying that I skipped this step. I need to select my clearing account. So I'm going to send that to my default clearing account, which is going to be 1,000. And I'm going to go ahead and select my add new item line. And you see where that line is now available for me. So if I click within the field, I'll have my drop down available. And I have my warranty claims in there for me to go ahead and pay. So I'm going to go ahead and pay my warranty claim of $480. And within the debit amount, I'm going to go ahead and enter $480 as well as the amount received on that check or that payment method, however they decide to pay you. And the steps from here on out are going to be identical as it is in Infinity. I'm going to have the option right here to mark it as complete, save. I can add a new one and continue doing warranty credits if that's my specific role within the organization. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Mark it as complete. It will be checked off as completed on the top left section. And then that warranty payment received then against that claim will now be sent over to my clearing account within that daily deposit screen. Now, switching gears for just a second, I'm going to show you what that looks like in Infinity if you don't process too many warranty credits. Jump back to my accounting module. It's going to be this same option right here, warranty credits. Going to hit add within Infinity. Have to hit the add button to give you the option to go ahead and pull in that warranty company. And I'm going to continue on with EasyCare again. So let me type their entity number in. Pulls in EasyCare. And as you can see, Motility Anywhere and Infinity are linked. So prior to doing the one in Motility Anywhere, I didn't have that clearing account already filled in. But because I use it once today, it pulls it in automatically for me right here in Infinity. I'm going to go ahead and enter in my reference number. So I'm going to say that is my reference number. I have the ability to do a memo. And my line is already there. So because I already paid one warranty claim via EasyCare, the second one is going to be right here for me as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, hit tab, and I can go ahead and just, enter my amount in for that check that was received in. Now, I know we don't live in a perfect world, and there are going to be instances where that warranty company could probably short you for a job. In that instance, you can, it's really how you want to kind of go about processing that claim number. One option is you can write it off to a shortage account if you want to write it off to a shortage account, or you can just receive the funds in for what's been paid, and then the difference would just be out there on a warranty age collection report. That way, you can invoice that warranty company or try to, see if you can get the difference of that funds that should be collected in. So just to give you an example of that, say, for example, EasyCare shorted me the $28 on this one and just gave me $1,400. So as you can see, the check is in for $1,400, but the full claim was $1,428. In this case, what I can do is just update that claim to make sure that it balances within the software. So my debits and credits are going to be $1,400. And if it is that I'm going to wait for the difference in $28 from the warranty company, I see some questions in the Q&A. Not trying to get too far ahead. Can somebody tell me what those are?
With an MA, can there be a way to continue to the next line without having to click add new item each time?
And
claims on one check that is inefficient.
Unfortunately, not right now. That is not an option to auto create each line as you're processing different warranty claims. So for right now, you'd have to add new item each time to populate those lines to add each claim to the warranty credit screen. Is that the only one?
Nope, there's one more.
Okay.
From the warranty credits, on the right side is the AP parts designed to draw down the AR balance against the AP balance.
Good question. I'll be getting to that in just a second.
Do you include using this in your demonstration?
I don't have an example set up for it, but I'll try to explain it as best as I can for you.
And Sarah was just for the first question in MA. She's please, can we request this to be a modification?
Sure, yeah, no problem, Sarah. All right, so continuing on with my example right here before we jump to the AP side of things. So say, for example, EasyCare did short me that $28. What I want to go through and do is just make sure that it is balanced within the screen. So I'm going to receive in that 1,400 against the claim for 1,400. And if I leave it as is right now, what will happen is that $28 will be reflected on that warranty age collection report, saying that EasyCare does owe me $28, and then I can kind of get with them after the fact to kind of, get that difference in. Or if it's the case where I am just not going to worry about the $28, then I can write it off to a shortage account. So within Motility Anywhere, as well as in Infinity, the process is the exact same. I'll just come down to the line right below it. I can click within that line and it will auto-populate the information for me. The difference is I am not going to be sending this difference to my clearing account. I want to kind of move it to a warranty shortage account or a warranty write-off account. So let's see if I have an example in here for such an account. I'm going to probably use my warranty adjustments account right here. So that way I'm completely satisfying this warranty claim saying that, hey, I'm going to move the $28 to a shortage account because I'm not going to battle with EasyCare for $28. Or I can just delete the line altogether and wait for it. The choice is going to be yours right there. But as is right now, you can see where my debits and credits at the bottom of the screen right here is still balanced. And I can just go ahead and hit mark it as complete. That will move it over, that 1,400 over to my clearing account. And that will definitely satisfy the warranty claim as well as the funds coming into the dealership. Looks like I have another question, guys.
Yep. Just came in. What would the apply shortage to warranty rider do? Why does the warranty rider only get filled in on the second line automatically and not the first?
Well, that's just the software's way of letting you know who shorted the claim. That way, when you print any reports, then you can kind of see, who that shortage was applied by, and if you need to have any conversation with that person about it, then they can have that conversation. But that only happens whenever that warranty employee shorts it, which is why that checkbox is also applied for you right here to the very far right. Now, before I go ahead and satisfy this claim, I'm going to touch on the AP side for just a second. So the idea is within the AP side is, say, for example, a lot of our warranty companies are also like part suppliers as well. What this kind of does for us is, say, for example, if your warranty company says, hey, we're not going to send you a check for the $1,400. We're going to just give you a credit instead. What this allows you to do is kind of select a AP parts GL from the dropdown. So very similar to the receivable side, all you're going to do is just load in your warranty company information right here to the right. You're going to select your AP parts GL account. So a lot of my GL accounts in here is pretty much going to be a mess, but I'm probably going to use this one as an example. And it's going to be just a payable account. So what this side of the warranty credit screen does for you is when you apply that to that AP account and you mark it as complete and save it, what that does for you is the next time you go in and say, for example, you order parts from this specific company or this specific vendor, this AP credit will be applied to that that check that you're going to write to them for the parts as a discount. So it will reduce that AP amount with this AP credit. That way it applies that discount for them for the next time you do order parts from them in the software, or you pay for parts for them in the software. So hopefully I was able to answer that question for whoever it was that did ask that question. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit save again. Mark it as completed in Infinity. It's going to be flagged as completed right here. As you can see, it's been moved over when the transfer transaction tool did run for me, and that claim has been satisfied within the software. So I am going to hop right back to Motility Anywhere. To the left of my screen, continuing on below new warranty credit, I do also have the new journal entry. So new journal entries, if you want to kind of go in and kind of create a manual transaction, similar to how you did it in Infinity, is going to be the add button at the bottom left of your screen for you to select your journal. We kind of move it up to the top of the screen because we realize that a lot of people use this function and it kind of gets overlooked from time to time. So what we did was just added it to the quick links. The layout is going to be very similar. It's just for you to go ahead and select your journal that you're going to be writing this transaction to. So I'm going to scroll down to select my Z1 journal. I'm going to hit confirm. And essentially, it's just going to give you the layout for you to kind of go through and build that transaction as needed. So you're going to kind of go in and enter your reference number right here, whatever that reference number needs to be. It's going to default to your posted month and year for current posted month and year. Same for transaction date as well, who it was done by. And you can add specific comments to this line if you need to as well. Those comments will move over to the comment field right here for you on the transaction line. And you can just kind of go through and add your debits and credits throughout the screen, hit save whenever you get done, and that should be just your manual entry recorded in the software for you. Go ahead and exit my screen. Right below that, we have the option to kind of go ahead and create a new AR invoice. An AR invoice, so just as a disclaimer, a lot of the ARs that do get created in the software or essentially automatic. They pull from different modules, whether it's going to be the deal desking modules or parts and service, whatever the case may be. However, the AR invoice document right here is just a way for you to create a AR entry and tie it back to a document. That way you kind of have some kind of paper trail for this AR invoice in the system. It doesn't get used pretty often, but there are going to be, one-off instances that do happen from time to time that you need to create an AR for. So a lot of accounting people that I speak with, a lot of them do prefer to just go ahead and just write a journal entry, probably because it's the simplest way. But if you want to tie it back to a document, and as you can see right here within Motility Anywhere, you can kind of go through. It looks very similar to a general purchase order. You're going to add your customer information right here by hitting add existing entity or a new entity. And you're going to hit add new. It's going to pop a field for you to kind of fill out the information as far as like what you're creating the AR for. And then once it is created, you're going to hit save. And then you can kind of go ahead and just post it to accounting directly to create that AR, or you can wait for that payment to come in and then post it later. The choice is going to be essentially up to you. If the customer is paying with cash before I move on, are paying it out right away, you do have that cash out option right here at the bottom left of your screen as well. Right below new AR invoice, we have new GL account. So one that gets used pretty often as well. So if you are familiar with Infinity, adding a UGL was kind of navigating the screen a little bit to go to edit, modify, add, modify new GL account. Whereas in Motility Anywhere, we kind of made it a quick link for you. Just go to new GL account, loads the screen up for you right away, and then you can kind of get started as far as like giving your GL a description, selecting what that account type is, if there's any tax rules applicable to that GL account, and then you'll go through and enter your base GL account and just kind of detail your GL account, specifically what it needs to be. You have your requirements right here. If you need specific requirements, if it's an AR or AP, you know for a fact that you're going to definitely need that entity recorded on that GL. So you definitely want to have that checked off by default. But just made it a little bit more accessible for you right here, as opposed to just going to edit, modify, and taking those 2 or 3 extra steps. Right below that, we have process late fees. Process late fees are going to be for your customers who have unaccount balances. If you want to charge them a percentage on that late fee, on that balance, you can from this section right here. This option also is available in Infinity. It's going to be under tools, and it's going to be process late fees right here. So doesn't get used pretty often, but that is an option for you right there if you do decide to use it. Right below that, we have process invoices as well. This process invoice tool does tie back to those AR invoices within the system. So if there are several AR invoices out there that you need to just process all together, you can process them right here by the process invoices tool. Right below that, we have create recurring transactions. So that's going to be what if you do have recurring transactions set up within the software and you run those on a monthly or a bi-weekly basis, or even quarterly, depending on how you have the frequency set up. This is where you kind of go in and just create those recurring transactions, and they'll run for you throughout that period automatically in the system. Well, within Infinity, I think it's going to be for you to just go to probably tools, create recurring transactions. Yep, it's going to be right here for you. We kind of made it a easier access for you right there on the quick links within Motility Anywhere.
Can you walk through one of those, Rowan?
So I don't think I have any right now because I tried to run it a little bit earlier, but I can show you when I get to the bottom of the screen. There's another section where you can set one up, and then I can kind of tie them back together. So I'll get to that in just a second. And then the last option on our list is going to be AR AutoPay. So this is a new function within Motility Anywhere, but the idea behind the AR AutoPay is it works in conjunction with our integrated credit card processing partner, which is Elevon. And how that works is Motility by any means don't hold any credit card information for our customers in the software. However, we do have a partnership with Elevon that allows us to charge our customers' card through a tokenized system. So this is mostly used for our customers that use storage or the rental program, and their customers will have their boats on the dock, and they just put their car down on file with that dealership or with that entity, and then you can just run that AR AutoPay for your customers if it is an option that you want to explore. It does require a little bit of setup, but if it is something that you're interested in, definitely reach out to your comp manager, and we can kind of walk you through the steps of what that should look like. All right, so we're gonna move down to a few more of the items that we have on our list right here within Motility Anywhere. So we're gonna start with one of our subcategories right here is gonna be tools. And the first option right here is gonna be our company option. So right here, the first one is gonna be transfer transactions. Excuse me. So unlike Infinity, transfer transactions within Motility Anywhere is not per se you running transfer transactions to move those transactions over. Essentially what it is just a transfer log. So within Infinity, you'll have the option to kind of move those transactions over, as well as it will present you a log of the transactions that are, need some attention. Within Motility Anywhere, it's just for you to see the transactions that need your attention. The reason for that is, or idea is kind of to eventually make transfer transactions or transactions that move over from different modules more instantaneous, as opposed to running on a routine that moves them over, whether it's every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes. So the idea right here within Motility Anywhere is just for you to go in and view those items that need your attention. And if you could look at my list right here, I have several that do need my attention. Some of them are missing GL accounts, some of them saying that the document is already opened by somebody else, which is why it's not moved over. So this is kind of a viewer for you to see, what's out there. If you see something or you're looking for something that's not pushed over to accounting yet, you can kind of see what's holding it up, and then you can kind of address that issue. Right here below that, we have our budget screen where you can kind of go in and set up your yearly budgets for your dealership. Um, this one doesn't get used pretty often as well, but it is a tool if you want to explore. It also does require a little bit of setup if you want to explore it, but that option is available for you within Motility Anywhere as well as in Infinity. Right below budgets, we do have audit reports. So I'm not going to run it right now because, to be honest, my training environment is pretty messy. But the audit reports right here within Motility Anywhere, we did give you quicker access to it, as opposed to going through I think it's tools audit reports within Infinity. But it is a collection of several different reports that's tied to unit inventory or transactions all throughout the system. And the idea is, I definitely recommend running your audit reports if you ever get the time or if you have some downtime at the dealership. It will definitely help you resolve a lot of issues that you may or may not notice from the jump. And it's just a pretty good tool to use if you have any discrepancies in the software accounting wise. It will kind of help you identify those issues and kind of address them sooner than later. It does get very used very often at doing end of year, but I usually recommend running it end of month, just just to be sure. Right below audit reports, we have the option to change current month and year. So as opposed to change view and month and year, changing current month and year is the one that changes it for everybody. So if you're going to be, closing out an accounting period and you want every transaction from here on out move over to the next month, this is where you can kind of go in and change that current month and year for everybody. That way everything gets posted to the next month as opposed to current month. And then if you're a bookkeeper or accountant or a controller, you can kind of go in and kind of, clean up previous month before you go ahead and close it out. Right below that, we have those correspondent actions, which is going to be close in the month, open the month, or change restricted month and year. So just tying back to that whole process of closing out a previous accounting period, you have the option to close the month right here. You can also go in and reopen a previously closed month if you have the required permissions. That will allow you to kind of go in and make adjustments if you need to make adjustments or make corrections if needed. And then you can change restricted month and year, which will not allow people to post within that current or that previous month and year. So if somebody's writing a manual transaction and is trying to push it back to February, for example, they will not have the ability to post within that restricted month and year unless their permission gives them the access to. Right below that, we have the option to do a financial statement export. This one doesn't get used pretty often as well, but the idea is we do have a dealership or DMS financial statement export that is available through a Motility. And I think it does require some kind of setup as well. It uses your internal or external bucket numbers and kind of push that information over there to that report. So if that is something that you do need or are interested in, definitely reach out to your account manager, or we can kind of get that process started for you. All right, so moving on from our company tools, we have our general ledger tools. So the first option right there is going to be the reconcile bank accounts. So nothing has changed much within the screen. It's pretty similar to what it is in Infinity. The reconcile bank account tool is just where you will go in and kind of reconcile your bank accounts for that accounting period. So the idea within here is just for you to have a statement from your bank checking account. And you can kind of go through the list of transactions right here and mark them off as cleared. And once they've been marked off as cleared, then you'll just go to the bottom of the screen. You'll finalize it. The system will print you out a bank reconciliation report. Sorry, that you can hold on for your records as needs be. Right below that, we have the option to view your chart of accounts directly from the main screen as well. So your chart of accounts is similar to what you would see in Infinity, to where you go to edit, modify, add modify GL accounts as well. This screen will load up every one of your GLs within the software. There we go. and kind of give you a list of what's all in here for you. Whereas within Motility Anywhere, if you click your, did I lose it? Here it is. Chart of accounts, it'll give you that same list of GLs that you have currently using in the software. You can scroll through the list and kind of like highlight the GL that you want to hop into or make adjustments to, or even just view information on. You have the option to still add and modify your budgets. You can add a new GL right from the screen as well. You can search for specific GLs or GL types. You can view your inactive accounts. The open button right here just gives you the ability to open that GL account if you want to open it up and view that information or adjust information. And we also have our cancel and close button that will just close us or exit us out of the screen. All right, so somebody asked earlier about recurring transactions and kind of giving them an idea of what that looks like. So the idea is within our quick links is just a tool to run those transactions, to create them in the software. But where I'm at right now within the general ledger tools is where you will go in and set up those recurring transactions. So this is ideally used for instances where you have transactions that are remaining the same dollar-wise, month to month or week to week or every bi-weekly, however your frequency is set up. To give you a good example of one right here, let's see if I have one. Okay, so it looks like I have one for a rent bus. It looks like my reference number is going to be rent bus. It tells me the amount of entries that I want to have it run for. So this one is running for 120 entries. It's going to be posted to the Z1 journal. You'll have the ability to select which journal you want it to post to when you create that recurring entry. Then it's going to let you know, what the first transaction date is, as well as the frequency. So this one looks like it's running for 120 entries every month. So that means is if I run this currently for this month, for example, and then I try to go to create recurring transactions again from my quick links, this one will not run again, because essentially what the software will do is go through the list of existing entries that's been created from the recurring transaction tool and see what's already been created, and then it will just create the ones that are outstanding for you. So if you have several of these set up for different frequencies, different times of the month, no need to worry. The software is checking for duplicates. And if there is a possible duplicate out there, it will not create that second entry for you within the same month or within that same time period. As far as that frequency goes, you can set it up weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. The choice is entirely up to you. But once you have this header information already filled out, it's just a matter of you going in here and creating what that journal entry should look like whenever you run that create recurring transaction tool. And it will kind of create this entry for you every month or every week, depending on how frequent you need it. So one additional bit of information I'll make mention of right here is a lot of people always ask me when I go through and explain the recurring journal entry is how can you tell the difference between, when one entry was created versus another. So whatever it is that you do have entries created from this tool right here, your reference number is definitely going to be the way that you kind of separate them out. So each reference number that gets generated from the recurring transaction will have rent bus, just using rent bus as my example right here, as my reference with the inclusion of the date as well. So if I ran it last month, it will be rent bus 2/14/2024. If I ran it again this month, it will be rent bus 3/14/2024. So that's a good way for you to kind of see if you have succession running these journal entries, and if there's any missing, you can easily identify it or make an adjustment or kind of investigate why it wasn't created to begin with. But usually don't have any issues with these if they're set up correctly.
Do these auto run, Rowan, or you have to go in and kick them off each month?
Yeah, you'll have to go in and run them each month, which is what that create recurring transactions quick link option is here for you. So moving right along, we have the ability to import accounting transactions in the software. So I know for a lot of dealerships that I do trainings for onboardings, a lot of bookkeepers kind of do like to back up their information on a spreadsheet. So to kind of help our customers out to eliminate that double entry within the software as well as their spreadsheet, what we did was give you the ability to import those accounting transactions into the system. Now, though that spreadsheet, if you do decide to import it, it does require a specific kind of layout or format of that file, but it's pretty simplified. And once that matches up to what it needs to be, it will give you the ability to import those transactions from your spreadsheet directly as opposed to doing the double entry. And it will post that transaction within the system for you whenever it is loaded in the software. So you do have the ability right here within Motility Anywhere, but it also is available for you as well in Infinity. So that's going to be within tools, and you're going to scroll down to where it says import accounting transaction. And if I click it right here in Infinity, it'll kind of ask me for the option to select the file path where that file is located to. And if I needed to see any specific details as far as like what the format of that file should look like, we have instructions for you right here within Infinity. And the same process is, or the same information is available for you within Motility Anywhere as well.
If you
So-
do that, will it tell you why you errored out? Like, we've never used it, but I love that because we've got some long-winded journal entries.
Okay. If you're asking if it will tell you why you errored out,
Yeah.
yeah, it usually gives you so like if you try to run one from that file or that Excel file that's being imported in the system, if there's something off, the system usually gives you a prompt saying that, hey, this needs adjustment, should be something of this nature, and then you can kind of like modify the file to what it needs to be.
Okay.
And then you can kind of update the file, try to run again, and it should import for you correctly.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yes, sir. And just to show you what that layout looks like for you right here in Motility Anywhere, same information, select your files from your desktop or that folder, have the option to go ahead and import the file when it first loaded in. And if you do need instructions, it's all going to be right there in great detail for you. All right, so moving along, we do have our parts adjustment screen right here. So there's two ways you can manage parts adjustments within the software. One option is if you have the company settings to where it automatically posts your parts adjustments if there's any adjustment made within within your parts master inventory. Sorry. You can have that from company information just automatically post those adjustments. But if it's something that you want to keep a close eye on as far as like your master inventory is concerned, whenever those adjustments are made in master inventory, they can get posted here for you depending on how your company information is set up. That way, if say for example, your parts manager decide that, hey, we don't have 20 of these, we only have 5, that's usually like a big variance that you want to kind of pay attention to. And it will show you within that screen that there's been a parts adjustment of that magnitude. And then you can kind of have that conversation with your parts manager to find out what exactly is going on here. Or you can investigate it to find out whatever that needs to be done. Then you can post that adjustment or decline that adjustment, whatever the case needs to be. Right. So moving right along, we have our order entry screen. Order entry screen shows us 2 bit of information right here. Is going to be our purchase order, which is our PO and receiving control center. Looks like I have a question. Guys,
Is
somebody.
the parts adjustment tool only available in the MA?
It is available in MA and is also available in Motility. I'm sorry, within Infinity as well. So yeah.
Do you have a parts adjustment example?
I do not have a parts adjustment example, but if you do need to see one, we can probably put one together for you in your one-on-one a little bit later today if you need to. That's where it is, post parts adjustments. If you need to see it within Infinity, that's going to be it for you right there. Within Motility Anywhere, so it's going to be on that main menu list for you. There's another question coming for me.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we were looking at our order entry screen. So within the order entry screen, the first item on our list right there is going to be the PORE Control Center. So this one doesn't get used pretty often as well, based on my experience, but I think it's a very handy tool if you're looking for just invoices or outstanding receiving tickets from the parts and service side. Instead of navigating directly to the parts and service screen, you can actually just hop right into the PORE Control Center. This option is also available in Infinity for you. But the idea for you right here is for you to kind of hop in right here to kind of see exactly, all the purchase order and receiving tickets in here that are tied to a specific vendor or a list of vendors. So I'm going to type in my vendor entity number right here for NTP. And what the software is going to do is just pull in all those open purchase orders, or not just open, but all purchase orders and receiving tickets tied to those purchase orders. So if you look, for example, if I got a invoice in from NTP, but I don't see that payable has been created from the receiving ticket when it should have been posted, I can kind of hop in the screen right here to kind of find out or do some research as far as like what's going on. So if I'm looking through my item list right here, just using this receiver as my example, I can hop right into this receiver and say, okay, I see that, they started it. They added a freight charge. We have the part on here and everything seems to be in order. It's just that they didn't hit that post to accounting button. And if that isn't completely posted to accounting, then the accounting transaction wouldn't be generated for you to even see that payable when you go to pay NTP from the check writing screen. So, just instances like that where you can do some research without switching screens or switching modules, you can always just hop right into the PORE Control Center and view that information or do some research. So within Infinity, this is also going to be available right here for you as option 6. Pretty similar layout as well. I'm going to go ahead and type my vendor in here, load the screen up just the same, and I can kind of go through and scroll through and open my document directly from the screen. All right, next on our list, we have general purchase orders. So if I remember correctly, I think it was Carly that asked a question yesterday about creating invoices or payables for office supplies. So usually for those instances where anything that's being purchased for the dealership, but it's not necessarily a part, you'll probably use a general purchase order for. So something like office supplies or a uniform expense or whatever the case may be can be entered through a general purchase order. So how that would look like for you in Motility Anywhere is you're just going to click general purchase order. You're going to go ahead and add the vendor or that company that you're going to be paying for that service or that good. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in, let's see if I can find somebody in here. I'm going to go with my customer that I wrote that check to a little bit earlier. Davy Jones. All right, so say Mr. Jones right here also does some cleaning for us on the side. So I can go ahead and load this information into the header of the invoice. I can also go ahead and fill out some more information. So one thing I'll also need right here is going to be the entity reference number. So let's say he invoiced me and this is his invoice number. Also, one good function for you that is also available on the parts and service side is this pay to option right here. So I know for a lot of dealerships, how they would go about paying for services or goods or parts in general is they'll have the ability, they use your company card to pay for those expenses. So if it is that you use your company card from time to time to pay for expenses or to pay for goods or parts, whatever the case may be, you can add your company card in the CRM as an entity. That way, whenever it is that you do pay for goods or services with that card, you can tie them back to the invoice or to the receiving ticket, whatever the case may be. And when that payable does get created in the software, it creates that payable not to Mr. Davy Jones, but to that credit card as well. So when you go to pay your credit card at the end of the month, it'll load up all those invoices that were paid on the card, including this one right here that I'm about to enter. And then you can just go ahead and write a check to that credit card company directly, as opposed to paying the vendor itself, because the vendor has already been paid by the credit card. Was that another question for me in the chat?
Are you able to make requisitions? I love for the employees to be able to request office supplies through a requisition tool that can be converted to a PO.
So that's actually a pretty good suggestion. I don't think that option is available right now, but if you do definitely want to request or the option to request that information, that we can probably make a note of it and see if we can get that added for you guys. It's a good suggestion though. So I have my entity reference number in here. I'm not going to enter a company card as a pay to. I'm just going to leave that blank for right now. And I'm going to continue on with the general purchase order. So say, for example, I'm going to just purchase some paper in for stock. Within Motility Anywhere, I have the option to just hit add new, and that will load the screen up for me to go ahead and just type in the information. Or I can do a template from the template setup within Motility Anywhere, whereas I can have templates already preloaded in the software. I don't think I have any set up, but I can double check. So it looks like we do have, okay, we have one for internet bill. So I'll try to see how that looks. I'm going to select one for internet bill, and I'm going to do add. So essentially what it is kind of pre-filled out for me as opposed to me just going in and typing out the comments and the descriptions. So I have my description, I have my comment, I have my payable account, which is my 2140 right here on the top right-hand section. I also have the status of this general purchase order as it sits right now. And as you can see, it also pulled in for me my GL account, which is the offset, which is either going to be an expense account or a cost account, whatever the case may be. My GL is already going to be pre-filled for me right here for the offset. And the only thing I need to go in and enter is just going to be my cost for this one. So say my internet bill is going to be $200 for this specific invoice. I'm going to just type in 200. One thing I do like to make a lot of people wary of is if it is that you are paying for multiple items, definitely want to be aware of this quantity right here, this quantity option. So this quantity option right here, it acts as a multiplier. So if say, for example, you're buying 2 stacks of paper and that invoice is $2,000, if you type in $2,000 right here, you type in 2 to reflect those 2 stacks of paper, essentially what the general purchase order is going to read is you're paying $4,000. So if your invoice is just $2,000, just make it a quantity of 1 item, which is going to be this new item that's being added, to correctly reflect your actual cost as opposed to duplicating the cost. So I'm going to leave it right here as 1. I have my internet bill entered right here as $200. And then a lot of this other information right here is just really up to you if you want to kind of track it throughout the software. I can add a specific department. I can add a specific payment type to record how it was paid. We also do have a stock number field right here. So a lot of people also use this for paying for freight for stock numbers. So if it is that you order units for your unit inventory and you need to pay a separate company for freight, you can kind of go through and add separate line items for each stock number to account for that freight. And this will also tie that back to that unit in inventory. That way you can see it on the unit as well as create a payable for that freight company. Looks like I have another question.
Yeah, how do you create the template?
Oh, good question. So I will save my information right here. Save for right now and get back to it. So the template for your general purchase order is going to be within the settings. So I'm going to go to click in this silhouette right here. I'm going to go to settings. And I'm going to navigate to my app settings screen. Here we go. It was in the wrong section. So they actually put it under parts and service and not accounting, but this is where you'll go in and create your general purchase invoice templates. And how you would go about doing it is just go ahead and hit add new record. It's going to give you that new record right here. You can kind of go in and fill in the information as far as like what is needed. So I'm gonna go in and add category, description, comments, just all the basic fields that are required on that template that pulls into the system. And then once you've filled out that line as much as possible, then you're gonna go ahead and hit update, and it's gonna lock in the information for you. Then you can load that right back into your general purchase order from the template. Is that the same question for me in the chat, or is it a different question?
Can I show it from, can you show it from Infinity, please?
So the template is not available in Infinity, but I can show you how to do a general purchase order in Infinity. So if I'm doing a general purchase order from Infinity, I can go to Tools, Tools, General Purchase Order, and AR Invoices. Then I'm going to click General Purchase Order, and it will just load my screen up for me to go in and just fill out the information, very similar to how we did it in Infinity.
Where is the account noted for the taxes on the GPO?
So where is the account noted for the taxes in the GPO? So if there is taxes that need to be charged on a general purchase order, it will be reflected at the bottom of the general purchase order. But as far as like the setup for it is going to be in company information. So it will pull to the default GL account that you have for taxes. But if you have a separate GL account that you want to send that to, that can be modified within company information as well. All right, so I have my $200 in here for my internet bill. If I wanted to add anything additional that I'm paying to this specific vendor, I can add several different items on this individual general purchase order if I wanted to. But because it's just my internet bill, I'm just going to leave it as is. If this does need to be taxable, I can check off the taxable box right here, and it will calculate the tax for me in the system. But I'm going to leave it as blank for right now. But if the taxes do need to be calculated, it will be reflected for me at the footer of my general purchase order. And at the very bottom of the screen, I'll have several different options right here as far as buttons available for me. So these two first options right here are going to be to upload docs or view docs. So all throughout Motility Anywhere, we've given you the option to add documentation to these kind of records or to these kind of documents. So if I wanted to, tie like a physical scan of this internet bill or whatever it is that's being paid for, if it's a freight charge or sublet, whatever the case may be, I can just click the upload docs button, and the software will give me the option to upload that scan directly from my desktop and tie it back to this specific document right here. And if I needed to view it, it will be available for me right here in this section where if I have several of them or just one of them, I can double click it and view that document that's being uploaded to the document. Right below that, I do also have the option to print this general purchase order if I needed a printout of it as well. You can set approvals for general purchase orders similar to you can for checks. You can request approval as well. You have the option to just hit the order now button or do order and receive. The difference between them is order now is, say, for example, you just went ahead and created the general purchase order for freight, for example. You get a rough estimate of what it needs to be. But the order and receive option gives you the option to process it right away. So if you're just going to bill it out and it's already been done and you're just going to bill it out and just, process it and post it to accounting right away, that order and receive option does that for you in one fluid motion as opposed to just do it in two different steps. You also have the option to email a PDF of this to the vendor if you needed to, or if you ever need to just save where you are and get back to it, you can always just hit the save button. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and hit the order and receive button. And what that's going to do is say, hey, do you want to place this directly to order? I'm going to say yes. And then this is going to update it for me into that posted to accounting status. And it's going to print out a copy of that general purchase order for me on the screen right here. So I can print out a copy of this if I need to present it to anybody or if I need it for my own records. Or if you want to print it a little bit later, that option is going to be available for you right here by just hitting that print button. That will still just load that screen up for you as well. So as you can see, this one has been posted to accounting. So there should be an AP entry right now available for my vendor. Look like I kept my vendor as Mr. Jones as opposed to a company, but it should be a $200 payable to Mr. David Jones right there for me in the check writer if I go in there and write him a new check. So I'm not sure if Carly, who asked that question yesterday, is on today's call, but that would answer her question for you as far as like creating those invoices for items like office supplies and so on and so forth.
When you select the tax paid box, are you able to set the GL to code to the expense account tied to the line on the PO?
So yes, you can do that if that is the option, but it wouldn't be done from the general purchase order. So if you remember earlier, I mentioned that taxes, where the taxes is collected, is going to be to one of your tax account, not to the expense account. But if you do need to tie to that same account, then you would just need to set it up to where in company information, the taxes is being allocated to that specific GL account. So just to show you what that looks like, if I go back to my main menu and go to company information, I'm gonna click my settings button right here. And I'm gonna go to company information. If I go to accounting, one of these fields right here pulls specific taxes for your general purchase orders, sales tax expense right here. So that's where you would kind of enter that GL for those GPOs to collect or allocate the taxes to. And then the taxes, if it is a taxable general purchase order, will allocate to that specific GL account. We were done with our general purchase orders. Next screen that we have available to us is going to be our cash management screen. So this is a part of the software that everybody is probably going to be familiar with. So cash management houses or daily deposit screen or check approval. So that probably answers that question right there, to where you can kind of go in and set up and view check approvals, outstanding check approvals for you. But let's start with the daily deposit screen. So our daily deposit screen is where every one of our transactions that have been rung out from a cash drawer, or if depending on how your deal desking module is set up, if you are doing cash deals, they do also pull over to this screen as well. But everything that gets rung out in the system does go to this screen that gets generated to a clearing account. And this is where you'll kind of go in and kind of do your bank run for your daily deposits. So the idea behind this screen is the first thing you want to go ahead and select if you're going to be moving over deposits for that specific day, whether you do your closeout at the end of the day or the first thing in the morning. I know different organizations process it differently, but the first thing you want to go ahead and do is select from the drop down which one of the bank accounts you're going to be moving the undeposited funds to. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with my Gateway checking account right here. I'm going to leave my Q1 journals as cash receipts for this specific entry. And I'm going to go ahead and enter my reference number, which is going to tie it back to the transaction that's going to be created to my bank reconciliation screen. So for today's example, I'm going to make my reference number DEP and today's date. Let's have my posting month and posting year the same as well. This does not stop you if you ever need to change your posting month and year. However, if I change this to 2, for example, or to month 4, the software will just let me know that, hey, your transaction date and your posted month do not align. It doesn't stop you. It's just a warning to let you know that, hey, if you want to fix this, you might want to adjust it now, as opposed to doing it later. So just a rule of thumb right there, but mine do align in the software, so I'm going to keep it as is. And then the idea within the screen is it looks exactly how it does within Infinity. It's just for you to kind of comb through your list of transactions that's hit your clearing account, whether it's hit a cash and check clearing account or a credit card clearing account, or if you have a specific clearing account for certain transactions, you can kind of go through the list right here and identify what it is that you want to push over or work with for that specific time. So I'm just going to use the first two entries on my list right here. So I have one highlighted right here for 3,800. So if I ever need to see great detail as far as like where is that 3,800 pulling from, I can always just hit the little arrow to the left and then click it once more, and I can see that okay, one of those 1,400 looks like it pulled from our warranty credit that we processed earlier. And if you don't exactly remember where that 1,400 is coming from, we also have the view button for you that will should process that document. I think because I did the warranty credit from accounting, it didn't tie it back to a document. Let's see if this one ties back to the document. Yep, this was my payment on account that I received in from my customer. So it shows you right here that we received that 1,500 from him, and it also shows me the difference that's on his account. That is 1714.25. So that's outstanding now what he owes to me, and this is just showing me what he has paid for the date of 3/14/2024. Then I can see the other two warranty credits that were processed as well. This 1,400 was the one that we were shorted on that $28. So we just collected the 1,400. So that all makes sense to us. So we're going to go ahead and just minimize it, leave it as checked, because we're definitely going to move that one over by hitting the add button. And then if I wanted to kind of look through the other items right here to kind of see where those are pulling from, same exact process. And if they all make sense to me, I'm going to just check those and move them all over as well. So just using those two as my example right now, I have a total of $3,795.50 that's going to be deposited from this screen. So for today's deposit, I'm just going to go ahead and just check off everything that's going to be moved over. And then my next step is going to be very similar to how it's done in Infinity, is for me to go down to the bottom of my screen and hit the deposit button, and the software is just going to manually or automatically, sorry, go ahead and generate that transaction for me. Debit in my checking account, which is the 1050 for that gateway checking account, and then credit in my clearing account, getting all those funds off the clearing account and moving it to my bank account. Last step for me is just to go ahead and hit save, and that will move those funds directly into my bank account and relieve that undeposited screen from my daily deposit screen.
What does manually clear items
Yep.
do in the deposit?
So manually clear items from time to time, and it doesn't happen pretty often, but from time to time, what will happen is if there's an entry that is being cleared or that's been sent to this to a clearing account, and there's already an entry recorded for it, that manually cleared option gives you the ability to kind of remove it from this list. That way you're not creating a duplicate entry within your checking account. I will say that I'm not the biggest fan of using the manually cleared items. Reason being is because you can also still just remove any one of these items right here by crediting the clearing account and moving that to the desired account that you need to move it to by just doing a manual journal entry. So, but if you prefer to use that manually cleared option, it just gives you the option to select which one of these entries you want to remove from the list, and it will remove it from the list for you. So either option works, but that's just what that manually cleared items will allow you to do. All right, so the last step for me right here is just to go ahead and hit save on my deposit, and that will create my journal entry to my checking account and relieve those two line items from my daily deposit screen. The last two options that we have within cash management is going to be our bank card import, which is essentially just like the import accounting transaction. The layout is a little bit different, but this one I think is just a Excel layout of you importing a bank card import that's usually provided by your financial organization. Doesn't get used pretty often, but it is an option if you want to explore it. And we also have a floor plan interest import as well. And that is usually can be provided by your floor plan company. And if you want to import that into the software to create those journal entries for you, you can import it into the software and it will create that entry for you. And then just moving right on from our cash management screen, we have several views right here available for us. So we have our warranty credits, which is just showing you all the warranty credits that we've been working with throughout this current month. So I have this is no way for you to kind of go in and kind of, you know, work with anything. It's just a viewer to see what's out there or what you've currently worked with. If you ever need to revisit it or make any adjustments, you can hop with into any of these warranty credits or these AR invoices. Same for general purchase orders, just a kind of allocation screen for you to go in and find the information, whether it's opened, not fulfilled, or fulfilled, posted to accountant, or voided. They're all going to be broken out based on their statuses for you. And same for our received payments on account as well. Is if you ever want to hop back in here and just reprint a receipt or reprint a payment on account option for your customer or yourself, you can always just hop back in here and print another one as needed. That kind of explain the views right here. It's just a way for you to view documents or entries that's already been created. And then last but not least, we're going to have all our journals right here. Everything from A1 to Z1, as far as like the journals where all our transactions are going to be allocated to. We have our not posted journals right here as well. Where you're gonna have journal entries that need attention. So usually whenever it is that something gets posted to a not posted journal, it's probably because it's missing another side or there's some entity information. So if we hop into any one of these right now, we can take a look as far as like what's needed right here. So anything in the not posted area would probably have, or is probably going to have a red line saying that you need to fix all the issues highlighted in red. So I'm going to clear it and say, okay. And it looks like somebody started this one and didn't pick up or finish the transaction. But this looks like it was a deposit from a deal. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just kind of fix this one by clicking my edit button. And if I know off the top of my head, my unit deposit GL. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and fulfill that line. Make sure that everything is correct in there. Then I can go ahead and hit save. It's going to ask me, do you want to post this transaction or mark it as posted? I will hit yes. And that will kind of just, you know, address that one directly from my screen. As you can see, it's still there, but if I refresh my screen, it should disappear in just a little bit. Yep, so it is gone right now. And then if I need to hop back to my all journal screen, hit all journals will take me right back to all my journals for the current month. But one other option that we did add for you within Motility Anywhere is the option to add a custom journal if you wanted to track specific items or certain transactions and have them show up in a custom journal. So what you will do is just kind of click add new, and you can kind of fine tune, you know, what exactly or what parameters you need this new journal to have for those transactions. So say, for example, I am tracking, I'm going to use RentBus as my reference once more. So if I'm looking for a specific reference, I'll select reference and I'll type in RentBus as my reference. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I hit save, it's going to ask me, you know, what I want my custom journal to be called. So I'm going to type it in as, give it a name as bus rental and hit save. And if you look at the top left under journals, now I have a custom journal that's looking for anything with the reference number of RentBus. So if I click it, I should have some stuff in there, probably nothing for this month yet because I haven't done anything for this month. But if I have transactions that are looking for that reference number, they will populate for me right here within my custom journal. And then if I'm, you know, for whatever reason, finished with my journal, it's just a matter of hitting the X right next to it to delete it. And I can get rid of that custom journal if I need to get rid of that custom journal. So I think this one is probably going to be very handy because I know a lot of people who look for entries in the software, and every now and again they'll, like, you know, misplace or not remember what their reference number is. If you use a standardized reference or a specific GL for those transactions, they can be allocated to a custom journal. Looks like I have another question in the chat.
Can you do the customs journals from Infinity?
No, you cannot. This is a Motility Anywhere exclusive.
If you change the column size, can you save that layout so we can see more per sliding over?
I'm sure you can. Let's test it. Yes, you can. So jumping right back into Motility Anywhere. So if you have been noticing just through my navigation of the first half of the training today, um, within Infinity, let me just kind of jump there for just a second. We did pull a lot of those options out of our tools drop down for, several different items on the list, as well as the edit modify screen as well. We kind of removed some of those options out of there for you and kind of made them based on usage available on the front screen or the main screen of the accounting module. But we do also have a few options that are going to be highlighted for you in the settings section as well. So a lot of those options are going to be if we are already in the accounting module. And if we go up to like the silhouette right here, or if you want to get to it directly from the main menu, it's just going to be that settings option on the bottom right-hand side. So if I go to settings by clicking on that silhouette and I go to company settings or app settings, you have two different versions of settings available for you. If I go to accounting, this is where you'll kind of go in and see a lot of those additional options available for you. So within accounting, a lot of these options don't really get modified or updated once they've been set. These are more like your set it and forget it type settings. So, everything from your account types can be added and modified within the screen. Same for your journal names as well. Usually those don't get changed once they've been started or already been used. Same for your profit centers as well. Departments, you can add and remove or modify departments that appear on your GL accounts from this drop down screen right here as well. Similar goes for your corresponding GL accounts. So your sale and cost accounts are going to be used all throughout the software on your reports as well as even your DMS export. These will use this information and that can be modified. So if it is that you want to kind of go through your list right here and double check your information, you can double check it by looking at this screen in settings. I'll show you where this is in Infinity in just a second as well. Or if you want to track cash flow, you can track cash flow right here and have those set up for yourself as well in accounting. But like I said, once these usually are set up for you, it's not usually something you go in and kind of modify after the fact. It's rarely that's the occasion, but that is where you will find those settings in Motility Anywhere if you do decide to hop in there and make a few adjustments. On the company settings side, everything kind of did remain the same for accounting. Not too many changes in here as far as like where you would find items. Navigation and the layout is a little bit different, but we still have the option to update the current month and year right here. If you're in a fiscal, you can enter what your fiscal difference is. You can add comments. And then you have your several different chat boxes that are when you first got onboarded to onto the software, these are going to be already pre-set up for you. But yep, a lot of this information is just set up that's going to be done for you from the jump. Usually don't have to come in here and change anything. If you do, then it's probably going to be an instance where you add a new clearing account and you want the system to use that new default clearing account or AP, whatever the case is, that can be modified within the screen right here. For example, somebody has been throwing off my warranty receivables using this weird GL account. So I'll go ahead and fix that right now for myself and lock that change in. So yeah, as far as accounting go, there's not too many settings or additional settings that are not going to be available for you as far as your day-to-day go from unlike from the main menu. Does anybody have any questions about any settings specifically, or we can just continue. Okay. So earlier, I do remember Sam did ask a question about the check approvals. So funnily enough, it was right there in my face. I just overlooked it, but I'll just hop back to that screen for you, Sam, to show you where that is. So the check approvals in the software, whenever you do get them set up, it works in conjunction with a permission, right? So if I go to the CRM and I'm going to load up my bank that's in the CRM. So I'm going to go to just show only banks, and I'm going to go ahead and hit search just to pull a list of the banks that I have in the software. And I'm just going to grab JP Morgan Chase. Right, so if I go to my AP tab, which is my accounts payable information, then I go to the checking account information. So your approvals are going to be set up right here where it says the amount of signatures required. So if it is that somebody's writing a check from this one and you definitely want it to have an approval, you can set however many approvals as you need. So if it's just you, you can set one approval. If it needs two approvals, then you can set however many you need. Also, the individual that's going to be approving those checks or approving those checks in the account within the check writing screen, they will also need a specific permission that will allow them to be able to approve checks. So works alongside a permission, but that's where you will go within the banking entity to apply those approvals for anybody that needs for any check that's being written from the software that will require an approval from.
Okay, so there's not ways to set like different levels depending on, if it's under this or,
No,
Good.
it's gonna be either on or off. There's not really like a threshold if that's what you were looking for.
Yeah. Looking for special. Okay, thanks.
All right. All right. Do I have another question in the chat?
When you showed the approval earlier, it looked like you approved yourself. How does this work with approval manager?
Yeah, so how it works is I have the permission to approve these checks, but I also do have an approval for that bank account requiring one signature. So what it is if you're an approval manager or if you have the access, it's still going to be either on or off for you. So if you go in there to write a check and it requires an approval from that specific bank account, it's just a matter of you clicking that approval box or the approval button at the bottom of the screen, and then just checking it off as approved, and then you can just go ahead and proceed with writing the check. So it's not a case where if you have the permission, it's just going to overlook the approval button. You will still need to hop in there and approve that check, if that's what you were asking specifically. Is there another question for me in the chat? All right, so kind of went over the settings, not too much there. I'm gonna kind of open it up for anybody that have any questions or instances that they've come across in accounting. We can kind of like troubleshoot together or kind of, have a conversation about. If not, we can just kind of roll into the reporting module. Okay. So jumping right into the reporting module, for Motility Anywhere, that I have all my accounting reports right here. Similar to Infinity, you do have the ability to save your favorites as well. So as you can see, I have my cash drawer, transaction detail report. I have my AR statements and my accounts payable marked as a favorite for me. But if I wanted to just jump into the entire list of the accounting reports, I can kind of comb through the list as I could through the Infinity platform. So as I'm going through the list, I can look at my general ledger reports. I have my GL profit and loss reports, different versions of it. I have my standard profit and loss report. I have my profit and loss report versus year to date. I have my GL profit and loss reports for the budgets. And I have one for a trend analysis report. The standard one is probably the most used one that I come across everybody using. Same for your cash flow reports as well. So as far as your cash flow reports go, how it is whenever it is that you do have GL set up in the accounting module, you kind of want to designate a cash flow to each one of those GLs. So how it works is, in order for you to pull this report, go ahead. What's the question?
Do you still have the department, P&L?
Department P&L, that one is not currently in Motility Anywhere yet, but it is coming. A lot of the accounting reports, if I'm going through this, a lot of these reports are not readily in the Motility Anywhere yet, but we are moving over several, a few options of reports every update. So I don't see it being an issue by the time you do this, decide or have migrated to Motility Anywhere. It should be there for you. But as of right now, that report is not available. But as I was saying about the cash flow report or the audit report, essentially what this is letting you know that, hey, you have several different GLs out there that don't have cash flow settings. And that cash flow settings can be modified from that GL specifically within your chart of accounts. Is there another question for me?
Is there a way to create a more traditional trial balance? The TV reports I pull show plus or minus values based on the account type listed on a single column instead of a traditional debit credit column.
Okay. We probably have to troubleshoot that together to get a better idea of what you're looking for. So one of the good things about Motility Anywhere is, and I won't dive into it right now, but I'll just give you like a brief explanation of it, is within the custom report builder that we do have in Motility Anywhere, I will say that it is not 100% perfect, but one of the better things that we are able to do with it is modify existing reports or pull new data fields into those existing reports as well to make it kind of your own tailored report. So I think that's something that could benefit you if that's what you're looking for. But we can always address it in our one-on-ones whenever you do decide to schedule that one-on-one and kind of see exactly what you're needing, and then we can kind of make decisions or take action based on what your specific needs are. But I don't see it being an issue where a custom report couldn't fix it.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
In Motility Anywhere, is the exporting feature going to be is better for less term? Because in Infinity, if you export it to an Excel sheet, it's in the craziest format I've ever seen.
Yeah. So if you're doing, are you talking about like, for instance, where you do an export to Excel and it brings over the headers and it's all jumbled up? So that's actually not the first time I've asked that question. We are trying to make it better as it is right now. If you do export to Excel, it is going to give you pretty much the same layer. You have to clean it up a little bit, but we're trying to make it a little bit more user friendly. That way, when you do the export, you can kind of things from the jump, and it will be a cleaner looking file for you. Yep.
It's for real Excel versus that faux Excel.
Okay. So moving right along, we also have our GL account summary reports. If you want to pull a summary for a specific GL or a specific group of GLs, you can pull a summary for that specific GL from this report. We have our missing entries reports that can pull information for missing deals, missing parts, service, receiving tickets, general receiving, whatever the case may be. You have those reports available to you as well as you do within Infinity. We have our dealership financial statements.
Hey,
Is that a
Rod,
question? Go ahead.
on that missing fields, how do you fix those?
So the missing deals. So essentially, if you run this report, it will give you. Let's try to run it real quick. So I have nothing in here, which is a good thing. But the idea is it acts kind of like an audit report. So if anything is missing or any detail is missing from those deals that's preventing it from being posted, what the report will do is kind of highlight to you what is missing from that deal or from that transaction for it to be generated, and then you can kind of update the transaction to make it post to accounting. Are you currently going through something like that or have issues with deals not posting correctly?
Occasionally, I mean, we run it every month and there's usually a couple of things stuck out there and I have to just reach back out to the team and say, hey, can you look at this? And they fix it, but I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
figure out how to fix it too.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you remember our conversation from earlier this week, Sam, but like I mentioned to you, one of the blessings and curses of using the accounting platform in our software is that you will kind of need to be like a jack of all trades and know a little bit about every module, and that helps you great as far as like fixing issues. But a lot of those issues usually stem from different departments, so you will probably need to grasp a little bit of knowledge from other departments or other modules, and then you'll know how to address those issues going forward. So I think it's a pro. The more you know about the software, the easier your job becomes. All right, let's jump back into our reporting module here. So we have our unit inventory reports as our is that where we left off? So we look at profit and loss or cash flow, missing entries, we're looking at dealership financial statements. So dealership financial statements, popular option from this is just going to be your balance sheet. Every bookkeeper, every accountant love to look at the balance sheet. This is where you kind of get an outlook of how well the business is doing from a month to month or depending on an accounting period. And it will kind of give you a layout of all your GLs and the balances and totals on all those GLs. So if I do it for my current month, might see some wacky information in here, but it's a lot cleaner than I expected. And I can kind of just scroll through to see, you know, what's on my balance sheet, or if my figures are off for any reason, then you can kind of like do a deep dive in it. The great thing about our reports, I'm not sure how big or small it's showing for you. The great thing about our reports in Infinity, and we also just recently added this feature to Motility Anywhere as well, is you have that drill down option. So if for any chance that you are looking at some kind of discrepancy in the numbers from your balance sheet or several other accounting reports, you do have the option to just go ahead and just click on that GL account highlighted in blue or any one of the fields highlighted in blue, and you can open it in a different module or open the report itself. And it will kind of take you to that GL detail report. That way you can see everything that's been happening on this GL within that accounting period. And you can kind of see, you know, where something might be missing or something might be off. And then, you know, 9 out of 10 times, the GL detail report, I refer to it as the master search of all your GLs, because 9 out of 10 times, if you're looking for an issue or a discrepancy, like you probably going to find an issue here if there is an issue to correct. Switch back to my reporting list. We have our trial balance in here as well. We have our departmental reports that also tie back to our same sale and cost reports for the corresponding GLs that were set up in company settings. We have our inventory by GL's value. A lot of the reports that you are familiar with are going to be in this list. I'm just kind of going through the popular ones that I usually get questions on. I usually recommend. Is there another question for me in the chat?
We still have the DMS financial statements. Did the name change? The report was condensed bucket reports. A summary.
I think that one is still in here.
Can you demonstrate how to use cash flow reports?
The statements is still there. Question was that cash flow report.
Sorry about the cash flow report.
Yeah.
Carly, can you demonstrate how to use a cash flow report and how to set them up?
Okay. Yep. So we do have the dealership financial statement in here. It's kind of hard to adjust, but it's still in there for you. Maybe if I had like a printer, I could print it out and it'd be a lot cleaner. All right. So we are looking at our accounting reports. I will get back to you, Carly, on that cash flow report to kind of show you how that is set up. So we're looking at the schedule reports. We're going to move on to our unit inventory reports as well. We have different options for our unit inventory reports. First one there shows us our unit inventory floor plan. Just showing us all the unit. Is that a question?
No, that was me. John.
Okay. Showing us all the units that we have out there that are still on floor plan that probably need to be paid. Right below that, we have our unit inventory floor plan by stock number, and then another version of it, which is the unit inventory review sheet. That way you can, kind of view our accounting entry or what accounting entries are out there for each stock numbers that we have within unit inventory. And this is the same unit inventory review sheet that is available on unit inventory itself. If you wanted to look in the top right of unit inventory, that option is still there. So I can kind of demo that real quick to show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to recall any one of our units right here. Is sales review. Same report for you right there. So moving right along, we are going to go into our accounts receivable reports. So three options available for us right here in our account receivable reports. We have our AR agent reports. You can run AR agent by transaction, AR agent by GL account. We also have a accounts receivable transaction by customer. We have an accounts receivable transaction audit report as well. So if there's any AR entries out there that may need some attention, I definitely want to recommend running any audit reports, and you can always double check those. This one right here has a little star to it because I do have it flagged as my favorite, is my AR statements. And AR statements is just going to give you a list of customers based on your parameters on the right-hand side right here, of course, where you can kind of see, who all out there that owes you a sum of money or, what's owed on their account. And then you can kind of go through that list, and you can email these to your customers if you're set up for emailing within the software, or you can print them out and mail them off, whatever your preference is. But this will kind of give you a statement for each one of your customers that have a receivable balance out there, and you can kind of like address those customers as needed.
Can you run one of the agings just so we can see what the parameters are on MA?
Yes, sir. So you want to see an agent report? So the parameters on Motility Anywhere is on the right-hand side right here. I want to say it's very similar to what we currently have in Infinity as well.
Can you group it by like account numbers, or is it just all?
So the grouping, yes, you can, but it does require like some kind of a manual entry to it. So if I'm looking for like my clearing accounts, let's see if I can filter by account types here. So it doesn't give me the option for account type, but if I'm trying to group it by GL accounts, I can say my beginning GL is like the 1,000, and I wanted to group it by anything between 1,000 and there we go. So I was able to just group it by that specific GL of 1,100. But if you have several different receivable GLs out there, you can kind of set that parameter as far as like which GLs I want to include in this report, as opposed to grouping it for the entire account type.
Yeah,
So,
I was looking for like doing something like, all the receivable accounts with subtotals for each account, and then a grand total at the bottom.
Oh, I can check. Give me just a second. Let's see. So within Motility Anywhere, it's going to show you one page at a time. But if you go ahead and click this option right here with the three little box, and you have like a little scrolling feature. So no, it does not give me the option to group. Yeah, I could probably make a note of that for you. I could see the reason for that. It's a lot easier to read the report if it was able to group it by GL. So yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Thanks. Yeah, it just makes it a little easier to run all of it and then just look at each group individually than have to
Sure.
run, multiple reports.
Okay.
So for split GL accounts, is there a way to get that summarized in reporting? This has been an issue for Infinity. You're speaking about grouping, so maybe group by name and not group by GL or department. Then she said, sorry, my question is for financial statements.
If it helps, I can talk about it. So like,
Yeah.
you have your one account and then it's a split by department.
Yep.
So when we run our reports, it tends to show you every single one account, which is great if you're going to dial down into that individual department. But we would like it to show one line to associate basically ignoring the department split, and kind of grouping by that name and not by the department. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. My question to you is, you say it's been an issue in Infinity, so I'm assuming you've already created a case for it in the past, maybe?
Oh, it was a long ago conversation that it was not something you guys were going to do, but since you're working with new and greater opportunities with your reports, figured I'd ask now.
Absolutely.
But I can create a case now if that's
Hey,
the route I should go.
Yeah, if you're able to, I can try to reignite that flame for you, see if we can get that going.
That would be awesome. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Can you run the aging by transactions for AR? I'm running it under AR, but it comes up as AP.
In Motility Anywhere? Melissa, are you running that in Motility Anywhere? Until Melissa answers, we're gonna move on to our accounts payable reports. So similar to our AR agent, we also have some AP agent reports as well. So we have similar options where we can do AP agent by that specific account number. We can do it by transactions as well. We have your IRS 1099 account payables as well, where you can go in and print those AP transactions by supplier. We have our accounts payable checks remittance reports as well. Those are the ones that get generated from the reconciliation screen for your checks. We have our invoice due report, which is a very popular one as well. It's just a quick simplified report where you can see all your invoices or what's due to your vendors or what needs to be paid for your vendors. We have our audit accounts payable report, is if there's any transactions out there or any payables that need to be addressed before they can be posted correctly so you can make that payment. That's going to be the report for that. And you also have your checks by supplier, where you can kind of see which checks have been written for those suppliers in the past. I don't think this ever got used in my training platform, so I probably wouldn't have anything in here to kind of demo for it. But I just kind of run something in here to see. Yep, figured as much. Moving away from our payable reports, we also have a list of audit reports that we can run individually. So the difference between the audit reports within the accounting module that's going to be showing up on our menu on the left and the audit reports right here is whenever you do run those audit reports in Motility Anywhere directly from the accounting module, it's going to give you all of those reports all at once. But if you want to focus on one specific section of that report, then you can focus on that specific module or that specific report itself. So right here, I have selectable options just to focus on one report. But I'm going to go ahead and attempt to run it directly from the accounting module Motility Anywhere. That way you can kind of take a look of what I'm referencing. So if I go down to audit report here, essentially what it's going to do is just go ahead and run and load all my reports out there, all my audit reports that have entries that need to be addressed. So as you can see, I have a full section of sold units with inventory balances. I have a full list of vehicles with inventory audits that need to be addressed. And a vehicle audit 05, that's just let me know that I have some vehicles on there with missing GL account numbers. So just telling me that, hey, I got units that are in my inventory that are not in consignment, that are not been paid for. We don't know how you got these units, but you need to address them. And I got one last page right here of just accounts payable with missing names. So this is going to be very similar to that accounts payable report, audit report that we had out there that we looked at earlier as well. Same for the receiving side. There's probably some kind of either the entity is missing or the reference is missing or a GL is missing that needs some attention. But the goal when running any of these audit reports is you never want to have a list of reports in your system looking like this, because that can pile up over time and can become a headache. So if, as I say, however often that you kind of want to go in there and run it, I would definitely tell you to kind of set some kind of cadence for it. That way you can kind of get yourself familiar with it. And I know it's not always going to be the case where you are going to have all the information you need, but just to keep it a little bit cleaner, you definitely want to check out those audit reports. Continuing on with my accounting reports. So we touched on the audit reports. Now we have our warranty receivable reports. So within Motility Anywhere, we have the two options.
Can you run the aging by transaction for AR? I am running it under AR, but it comes up as AP.
Okay, I will do that right now. Thank you, Melissa. So I'm going back to agent, and it was by transaction, right?
Yes, aging by transactions
All right.
for AR.
And if I hit submit, it's giving her payables. See what mine gives me.
Can you go back to the report menu? My AR accounts receivable reports menu looks different. So if you click down the little arrow next to the AR aging reports
Okay.
and run that top one, AR report by transaction,
Okay.
that's the one where I'm getting payables. And I don't know if it's just me and something weird that we have set up, or
We're about to find out. It is pulling AP agent by transaction. So okay. It's like you may have found a bug. So I guess this will be a great opportunity to show you how to submit a case from Motility Anywhere.
perfect.
Rowan, those are actual payables, right? It's not just named wrong, right?
We can find out right now, actually. No, it's pulling payable GLs, 2100, 2120.
Gotcha. Okay.
Those are payable GLs, yep.
Hey, Rowan, you weren't limiting on that report. It was wide open.
Yeah, I did not have any specific parameters entered for it.
Okay. So yeah, if you do that, it will allow you to pull any account AP or AR.
I can assume that it should, being that it's a payable agent, though. Just while that's loading, let's check to see. Have you checked Infinity, Melissa, to see if it does the same, or is it not the same occurrence?
We're actually just on MA.
Oh, okay. Yep. I will check Infinity right now just to make sure. So Infinity forces you to enter the range. So that's probably what the difference is. Yeah, so in Infinity, it forces you to select only AR accounts. So yeah, we have an issue there. So I'll go ahead and get that submitted. Okay, that explains that. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a screenshot of it and get that sent up for you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And can somebody make a note of that? I'm running out of space right here.
I got you.
Thank you. Was there another question for me?
Yeah, it's, can you draw up the master inventory units missing GL account numbers again? Is it for units missing purchase entries? I didn't quite understand what information is missing.
That was an audit report, right? Master inventory units missing GL account numbers. Yep. So the name could be a little bit misleading, but essentially what this is saying is there are units in our inventory that are missing information. So if I look at it kind of highlights it for you right here. So if you look at that first stock number on our screen, where it shows our stock number as 10241 or 421, gives me all the information, but as you can see, I have no sale account, no inventory account, no cost account. and that we don't even know if this unit is going to be floored or not. So like a lot of these, or it looks like all of these that I currently have on the report don't have that information entered. So this is probably something that you want to kind of go through your probably your make model pick list and has set up as a default, or if you manually enter them in unit inventory whenever you add a new unit. This report will catch those units that either have like invalid GLs on them or no GLs on them. Hopefully that answers that question. So this one in our warranty transaction report, you can run it by several different parameters. You can do it by that specific warranty company, or if you have a control reference, you can run it to look for that one claim number out there, or you can run it for that specific GL. So if we wanted to look for one specifically for or a warranty company, I'm gonna probably use that warranty company that we were using earlier. If you clicked on that field, it will give you the option to select any one of your companies that have been checked off in the system as a warranty company. So let's see if we can find Easy Care on our list, which is the one right here. And then we can go ahead and hit submit. And kind of give me a detailed breakdown of, you know, what's all out here for that needs to be collected for Easy Care. So look, we have a bunch of stuff out here. And as you can see, it does show me that I kind of moved over that $28. So that $28 is still outstanding on this report. Whenever it is that we process that warranty credit a little bit earlier today. If I wanted to track that one that's out there, we're probably going to switch over to the collection report. And it should show it to us over there as well. So if I hit submit, we have several items out here outstanding, but I'm trying to find my $28 from earlier today.
Does the magnifying glass on the right do anything? Or is that for something else?
This one right here. Try to find it. Let's do something. Okay. Oh, actually, I just remembered. So, yep, the magnifying glass does do something, and we are able to search the report based on our parameters entered right here. But if you do remember, we did not leave that $28 hanging out. We wrote it off to a shortage account, so that's why it's not on the report. Yeah, that would answer why that $28 is not outstanding. But yeah, if you are going through your warranty age collection, you can kind of see, you know, time after time over the periods from 0 to 30, 31 to 60, so on and so forth, to see how long this balance has been outstanding by the warranty company. That way you can kind of you know, decide whether or not you want to write it off or you definitely want to go ahead and collect it from them. But this is a good report for you to run if you do decide that you're gonna you know, collect that money if that warranty company does short you. So going back to I think it was Carly's question about the cash flow reports. So I've never personally set up the cash flow report before, but I do have an idea of how it works. So if we go back to the accounting module and we go back to our chart of accounts again, let's say, for example, I'm going to just the checking account. So as far as the cash flow setting on the GL, this is where you'll kind of go ahead and designate that cash flow setting for each one of those GLs that you kind of want to track that information for. And essentially what that report does is pull those GLs with those cash flow settings and kind of pull them into a report for you to track that information. For you to track that information. So my question to you, Carly, is this something that you're interested in using? If it is, then it might be something that, you know, we get together with a little bit later and kind of iron out as far as like what your specific needs are. But I may need to do a little bit more research if it is something that you want to use. Okay. I guess I will leave that open. until Carly decides that, or until she can answer me. Is there another question for me in
She
the
said
chat?
yes, please.
Okay. All right, Carly. So I will make a note of it. And I guess for everybody here on the call today, they if you guys do remember, you will be getting a free 1 hour booking with a trainer. So probably something we'd go over in our booking, Carly, if you want to use it for that. But I'll make a note of it and we can talk about it a little bit later. And I guess right before we head off to lunch, I kind of had an example of what that accounting import will look like for you in the background, kind of give you an idea of what that import will look like for you as well. So for anybody who is interested in it and that might need it, just an idea of what that file will look like for you is this is just a simplified version of my accounting import. First column is just going to show me which company or profit center I want to have this uploaded for, as well as which journal is going to be tied to. Then I'm going to have my reference number entered all throughout the column for that reference number that's going to be tied to the transaction. Then I have a column for the transaction date, posted month, and posted year. And then if I want to add any specific comments, I can add those comments right here. The GL accounts I'm going to be tying these to. So this looks like a payment from a credit card to an AP account. Then I have some entity references in here as well. Entity numbers is probably something that I probably won't recommend right away. Reason being is because whenever it is that you import the transaction into the software, if it is pulling from an AP, for example, an AR, that field will be highlighted in red for you whenever it is that you do import the transaction in the software. And then I usually recommend just pulling those entities directly from the CRM to tie them back to the transaction. That way there's no mistake or discrepancy, just doing it directly from the spreadsheet right here. But if you trust your typing skills, definitely you can go ahead and enter the entity numbers right here. I recommend the same for the stock numbers as well. And then I have my debits and credits broken out. Unit counts, if I do want to track those unit counts. And I have line comments and statements if I want to track that information as well. Looks like another question popped up for me, Clint.
When is it helpful to import transactions?
So I'm not sure who mentioned it a little bit earlier today, but it's definitely helpful if, say, for example, last one I did was for payroll. As you know, we don't accommodate a payroll module anymore. However, a lot of people do create payroll entries within the accounting module just to create the record. So if you do have your payroll entries backed up on a spreadsheet and you track it through a spreadsheet and make sure that it's monitored through a spreadsheet, a lot of times those payroll entries can get very massive depending on the amount of employees that you have or the type of benefits or bonus plans that you do give them. And instead of just doing those double entries on your spreadsheet as well as on that in the software, you can just import that payroll transaction into the software. That way you're just doing the entry once. So that's the last example where I had to assist somebody with doing an accounting import. So I'm going to try to proceed with just running my import directly into the software. The process is very similar for Infinity as well, but I'm going to do it here through Motility Anywhere. So it's just a matter of me going to import accounting transaction. Then I'm going to just search for my file from the desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and hit open. I'm going to go ahead and hit import. It's going to tell me my import has been completed. So the only thing is it doesn't pop it right away on the screen, but the transaction isn't there. So what I'm probably going to do is just search by my reference number. So let me grab my reference number once more. Yeah, and here it is. So I can just double click my entry. And like I mentioned earlier, I did not have my entity numbers in there, but it's a preference thing. You know, I do prefer just double clicking on the little ellipsis right here and pulling my entities directly into the transaction. Or you can type them in if you want to type them in directly from that Excel spreadsheet. But my transaction is in here. Once I've filled in all the red lines and satisfied these red lines, it's just for me to go ahead and hit save, and that will lock that transaction into the system for me. So if anybody wants this import file as an example, I can send it to them as well if you do need it. I share it with all my customers. Do we have any questions?
The last one was, that would be in place of doing a GPO? We were just talking about.
Not in place of doing a GPO. No.
And Sam said, yes, please. And Melissa said, please send the import file to
Okay.
her. And then Sam's like, free templates for everyone.
Yeah.
Credit cards.
So am I adding you to the list?
No, I already have. it.
Okay.
I
Oh, you
already
have one. Okay.
Mhm.
Did you make yours from scratch?
Nope, you sent it to me.
Ah, okay. Like I said, I shared it with all my customers. Right. It's awfully quiet in the chat today. Can I answered everybody's questions, or maybe later on in the one-on-one, maybe? All right, so I'll give it a few more seconds if anybody else have any questions. If not, it looks like we keep ending 10 minutes early before our break. Looks like we have another question, Clint.
They're saving some for after lunch.
Okay. All right. So being that we kind of went over the reporting module a little bit early, I think the session after lunch is gonna kind of be an open session for us to kind of like, talk or discuss matters or improvements, whatever the case may be, kind of like an open session for us to kind of have that discussion. So if it's okay with everybody else, I'm gonna go ahead and just break right here for lunch, and we can reconvene at is it 1:30? 1:30, right?
Sounds good. 1:30.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you all again at 1:30 Eastern time. Hey, welcome back from lunch, everybody. Hopefully, I have everybody back with me. Just a show of hands to make sure I have everybody back. All right. So, like I mentioned before, we broke for lunch. We was just gonna go ahead and open up the session just in case anybody had any questions about not specifically accounting, but everything accounting and above. So it looks like Bonnie had a question to start us off with. You wanted to see the flow of transactions throughout the software, right, Bonnie?
Yes, I like to see, like you said, it's easier to know what my job is when I know what everybody else's job is. So I'd like to
Okay.
see kind of what's supposed to happen from step one to my desk.
So are you looking for anything specifically, or you just want to see a few examples of what that would look like for you?
Just kind of in generally, like
Okay.
what happens, when we're just service right now, so parts and service, and we're getting ready to be sales. So I'd like to know kind of, like when a parts order goes in, what's the process of that? When the service call comes in and they put it in for service and it gets paid out, where does it go from there?
Okay.
So that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm going to start with parts and service for you then, and I can kind of give you an overview of what that looks like from the sales or the deal desk inside as well. So just going to jump right into the parts and service module. So within the parts and service module, whether you're working on a parts ticket or a service ticket, whenever it is that ticket is going to be cashed out, or whether it's going to be on account or just going to be cashed out to a specific payment type, everything in the background is linked to a GL account or a clearing account of your choice whenever you do get that set up. So if we're looking at, for example, I'm going to go with a parts ticket to begin with. So let's look at in our closed cashed out section. This is definitely where that ticket is going to sit if it has been cashed out. And when it has been cashed out, it's going to be moved over to accounting. So if I went in here and grabbed my first invoice on the list for a customer right here. So total on this one looks like it amounted to like $145.59. So whenever it is that this ticket is cashed out in the parts and service module, system will go ahead and create a transaction. If you ever do need to view that transaction, it's going to be in the top of your screen right here where you see that little calculator icon. And this would also let you know if there's any deposits or anything like that as well collected on that ticket. So it looks like I have two reversals right here. So the one I need to pay attention to is going to be the main one that has actually been posted. And this is essentially the accounting transaction that's going to get created from that ticket when it's cashed out. So as you can see, we have several different lines of transactions right here.
Is this the
and
way it's going to look in Infinity as well? Because I'm sorry, we're using
is-
Infinity. So I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
it's going to be the same in Infinity. So if you want me to reference Infinity specifically, I can definitely do that. All right, so we are in Infinity, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my screen number right here at the bottom of the screen to load that invoice up. So layout is fairly similar in Infinity. Difference is you don't have that little calculator icon within the Infinity parts ticket. So what you would need to do is go to View, then scroll down to Accounting Transaction. That way you can still see the same 3 transaction lines, and I'm still going to go ahead and just highlight the one right there in the middle to kind of view that transaction if I need to see any specific details of what was generated from that ticket. So as you can see, I have all my GLs right here. Anything from my parts sales and my parts costs, what's affecting my parts and accessories inventory GL. Looks like freight was also charged on this ticket as well. And I have some unit deposit receivables as well too. So let's look at the payment type of this one to see how it was cashed out. So within Motility Anywhere as well as Infinity, you can view the cash out information. So it looks like he took this payment in as cash. If I go back to my transaction, it should have been hitting the clearing account, but I think he may have got in here and modified this transaction. But that one right there should be a debit to a clearing account and not a unit deposit receivable account. So probably not the best example. I'll probably be a better example if I backtrack throughout the software. So let's go back to the daily deposit screen and find something that's showing up to give you a better example of it. I'm gonna grab my 654 right here. Cash. This looks like it came from an invoice. Better example. Okay. So this one did come from a service ticket as opposed to a parts ticket. It's a regular retail ticket. And if I wanted to view that transaction, it will be the same thing for me in the RO directly from that view accounting transaction. I'll just open up my transaction right here. So it looks like there were 2 transactions generated on here, but anything that shows up on my clearing account are in my daily deposit screen will be pulling from a clearing account. So as you can see, that $518.02 is being debited to my clearing account. So if I needed to backtrack, I can do it directly from that accounting screen right here if it is tied to a document. And it shows me right there where that $518 is coming from. So now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, though, as far as just knowing a little bit of each one of the modules, if, for example, I'm looking at just the not posted journal, I'm going to touch on it once more. If I'm in here, for example, or if I'm looking for a specific transaction that didn't get pushed over, within Infinity, if you're using specifically Infinity, then you can always hit that transfer transaction tool. And this would move over transactions that haven't been pushed over yet by the routine. But if I'm looking at one right here, for example, say, all right, service document. All right, this one might be an easy fix. So it tells me that the service document, which is this RO number right here for repair line 1, it said either no vehicle is on the job or your inventory GL is missing. So when you see something like this, kind of want to check a few places, but based on my experience, if it's telling me something about inventory, that's telling me that it won't push over or create the transaction for this repair order, because either the unit is missing from the repair order for job line 1, or the inventory account is missing from the unit. So there's a few places you can start with this one, but I'm going to start directly from the work order, being that that's the transaction that we're looking for. I'm going to jump back right into my screen number, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in my repair order number. And I'm looking on my list right here. So it looks like I do have a stock number in there for job line 1. Pretty weird stock number, but I'll grab it just the same. And I'm going to jump to unit inventory to make sure that that inventory unit is up to date. So I'm going to scroll down to my unit inventory screen. And just see if I can locate that stock number. So it says no records found. So probably somebody just typed something in. So it doesn't look like that's an actual stock number in the system. So I probably need to just reopen it up and add that stock number. This one is also in a cancel status as well. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and just fix this one and cash it out to kind of show you how that fixes that issue. So I'm going to go ahead and first thing I need to do is just go to my job to reopen the invoice. Put it in the open status. Then if I need to modify the job, I need to put that job also back into an open status. I need to add my stock number. I can go ahead and just type my stock number. Usually, if it's from the dropdown, you have the option to select from your customers' vehicles list. But I'm just going to grab something here from inventory. If I want to tie it to an internal inventory or something of that nature. So I'm just going to grab this option right here. It's fine. Yep. And that A button that I selected just now just gave me the ability to apply this unit to all job lines. Now, if I go ahead and to cash this one out, keep running into boo-boos all day. So this is asking for an internal cutoff password. Yes, it is. All right. That's going to be in company information. I'm not getting anybody into trouble. It's just all controllers and accounting people in here. I think that might be 1, 2, 3, but I'm just going to go ahead and update it to make sure that I know what it is. And the purpose of the internal cutoff password is if there's any changes that need to be made on the invoice, you or your controller or your admin can set up a cutoff password. That way, after a certain amount of time, nobody can make changes to the invoice. So I try to cash this out once more. All right, so it was waiting for me to go ahead and just refresh that module. So top of my screen. So there's no customer pay portion because it looked like it was an internal job, which is fine. It's going to go ahead and just flag it as cash. Giving me the option to print or email the receipt. I'm just going to click email because I don't have a printer attached, and then I'm just going to void the draft. So that ticket should be closed now. So let me just go back to it. 133207. All right, so it is in a closed cashed out status. So if I go back to accounting, that one should no longer be on my list when I transfer transaction or even check the log. So let's run that one more time. All right, so yeah, my log is a little bit shorter and that one has disappeared from my screen. So I can kind of go through and clean up these other ones that are like missing GL accounts and so on and so forth. But as far as the flow of transaction goes, like, once it's been cashed out, it's looking to push over to accounting. If it encounters any issues, then you kind of want to kind of check the transfer transaction log to make sure that there's nothing missing, or if there is something missing, then you can always address it right then and there by either looking at the document itself or the stock number or whatever the case may be. In that specific case, it didn't have a unit on it. It just had a bogus stock number entered in, and maybe somebody added a stock number, then deleted it, and the system just held on to that bogus stock number. Once that we got something in there, then we were able to cash it out after going through that password fiasco, and then we were good to go, and it cleared up the list. So before I move on, was there any questions for me, Morgan? I see the bubble lit up twice.
I can't see those two questions. I only see the four hand
All right.
raised.
I'll click into it. All right, no, yep, you're right. It's just the two I've been working with.
Okay. Then I see some people with their hand raised, but I don't know if they have.
Are the participants with their hand raised, was those questions, or was that you just signifying that you were back from lunch? I know M. Tippett.
Back from lunch. Said one of them at least.
Okay. I know M. Tippett had his or her hand raised. Was that a question or just an acknowledgement? Okay. All right. So just going through the sales side of it, fairly similar. So a lot of your transactions will follow the flow of your account summary setups, and I can kind of show you that as well. So within Deal Desking, same is going to be for Motility Anywhere. Was that a question?
I think Tippett has a question.
Yeah.
They haven't typed- they might be typing. Don't put it in yet.
Tippett, if you are able to type it in, just go ahead and type it in the chat and I'll be able to look at your question. Thank you. All right, so from the sales side, just to answer Bonnie's question, whenever you do start doing sales within the software, it's very similar. So as far as your layout, or one thing that we will go through with you when you're first adopting the sales side of the software, is going to go through where we update your account summary setups. And the idea behind the account summary setups is it just gives us a good example or give you a good flow of transactions. So if you sell products like accidental health, or if you have specific requirements as far as like fees or products that you sell directly from the deals, we can all have those programmed into the software for you, and all of those items do get mapped to specific GL accounts in the system. So it could be the case where you have several different items that you kind of want to break them out to different GL accounts, or if you want to have them broken out to the same GL account, depending on how you want to track it in the reports, they can all be modified and set up right here for you. That way, whenever it is that you go ahead and you decide to close a deal out or finalize a sale, when you go to that final washout stage of the deal, it will ask you which account summary do you want to use to post that deal, and then you'll have these options from the drop down. So to kind of show you a deal of what that looks like is if I go to my done deals right here, and I'm just going to pick one of my finance deals. All right, so I'm gonna click my same view button, go to accounting transaction. Looks like no deposits were taken. It was just the deal itself, but I have a bunch of red lines. So it looks like there was some kind of tag fee on here. Like I did mention earlier, my testing environment is pretty messy. I'm gonna try a different deal. All right, this one's a little bit cleaner. All right, so this looks like it was, let's jump back to my main screen. All right, so this one is a finance deal. Usually finance deal gets posted to an AR account. By default, or AR account is going to be contracts in transit. So it's going to be or 1121 right here. So how that would look for you as far as like if you were working on a finance deal, it will definitely go to an AR contracts in transit or another AR account of your choice. And how that would look for you on the accounting side is this AR is going to sit on this account until you receive in payment from your bank. And how you would relieve this AR directly from this GL account is just you going into the system. Several ways you can do it. So if I can do it for this one right here, I'm going to say, I'm going to grab the entity number. That's usually going to be the entity number of my finance company. And just to show you what it looks like. So let's go back to that line real quick. 1121. And we're looking for roughly $42,000. So it's really up to you as far as like how you want to receive this payment into your account. If it's you're trying to go through the receive payment and account screen, and you can just create a journal entry, it's entirely up to you. I do prefer doing it through the receive payment and account screen because the software kind of helps you to create the transaction. So there's limited room for error. So if I put that entity number in, see if it pulls anything over. So as you can see right here, my reference number is my deal number. That's my contracts in transit GL, that 1121, and that's the figure that we're looking for, which is that 42,000 and change. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit pay. And you can see where the software now is creating the transaction for me, where I'm crediting that ARGL and debiting my bank account, which looks like my BB&T bank account. And it's asking for a little bit more information as far as like what who the person you're receiving the payment from and the comment, right? So I like shortcuts, make my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy the entity number from the person that's paying, or from the institution I'm receiving the payment from. And I'm going to go ahead and just say this was for deal number 23712. So just to go ahead and satisfy that comment line. And the last step for me is just to go ahead and hit save, like we did earlier for Mr. Jones. And that will just create that transaction, crediting the AR account and saying that I received the funds in from the vendor or from the finance source, and now that money is being deposited into the bank account. If it is from a cash deal, for example, it will just be not going to a AR account, but going directly to a clearing account, which usually shows up for you right here in that daily deposit screen. And you can still go through the same process and pull it over today's deposit, creating the transaction at the bottom of the screen, and that would also move the funds over to your bank account or your checking account. So hopefully I was able to answer that question as far as flow in the software for you. Any other questions for me? Oh, you're very welcome, Bonnie. Any other questions for me? Not accounting specific, can be parts, can be sales, can be service. Looks like I have Clint back in the room.
No question.
Yes.
What is from Carly? What is the unit column count for NAJE?
So the unit column count. So how that works, Carly, is say, for example, I'm gonna show you from the GL itself. So from the GL, you have the ability to track unit counts, which is gonna be at the top right here. So if that is checked off for your GL, what's going to happen is whenever it is that you sell or do any transaction that has that GL that's tracking that unit count reflects on a report. Forgive me, but I don't remember that report off the top of my head, but it's going to be a unit inventory report that tracks your unit counts. But it's really just there for reporting purposes. Nothing outside of that. I'll get that to you as soon as I remember it, Carly.
Carly said, thank you. Can you review opening / closing and setting up the cash drawer?
Okay. Do you prefer Infinity or Motility Anywhere? Does it matter? Using Infinity right now still, Carly?
Infinity.
Okay. All right, so going back to parts and service, we're gonna go to our cashier screen right here. All right, so as far as like opening and closing the cash drawer, as you can see, my cash drawer is not well kept. But as far as so currently my cash drawer is open. My cash drawer number is the BO right here, short for business office. And essentially the idea of closing and opening the cash drawer is if you're if you're running your end of day reports and you're trying to have like a cleaner cutoff as far as like, you know, the transactions that's posted to your cash drawer when you go to do your bank runs, it's just a matter of coming in within the screen. If it's already open, then it's just the next option is just going to be for you to close it. So when you're closing the cash drawer at the end of the day, it's just a matter of you physically pull in the funds of that cash drawer, and then you're going to go ahead and just count out the denominations of the bills received throughout the day. So for my current cash drawer right here, it says that I have roughly what, $9,000 in sales. So it doesn't really give me any information as far as like where that's coming from. So what I would probably do is if I collected, say for example, a few hundred, so I'm gonna say I collected So the idea here is just for me to go ahead and just get those denominations into the screen. Once I have, and it balances, it should really balance down to zero, but it looks like for my specific cash drawer here in the system, I did not have a starting balance. If I did have a starting balance, then it will just account for my starting balance here, which is roughly usually $200, what we usually recommend for people that never used a cash drawer before. So my difference will probably be about $200, which is going to be the $200 that I started with, excluding the money that I'm counting out for the cash drawer right here. And then once I've kind of allocated all those denominations out on the field right here, then it's just a matter of me going to selecting the close cash drawer function. And that's essentially going to close the cash drawer for me. And then I can have I know a lot of dealerships go ahead and just fill out like a deposit slip for the bank. That way they can kind of like say that this is a physical copy, or software does not provide that. But as far as like opening the cash drawer, it's essentially the same thing. So it looks like it is pulling my starting balance now of $250 is what I want to start with. Then I'm going to hit OK. And once I've opened the cash drawer, that means that the cash drawer is open and available for anybody else that needs to use that cash drawer, starting that cash drawer off with $250. This one says, can you discuss the parts adjustment mentioned briefly? You are able to have multiple cash drawers open under a single rooftop. You're not limited to how many cash drawers you do have. As far as the journal entry, you're asking if it creates a journal entry if the cash drawer doesn't tie out. There's not a journal entry that gets created. It's really up to you as far as like if you should be able to find out where that money is going from or coming into. So what I would probably recommend is if you have an instance where your cash drawer is off, I probably recommend running the end of day report, which I can show you in just a second. I go to reporting and I go to cashier end of day report. You have several different cash drawer reports you can pull right here. The one that I usually recommend if you're trying to get great detail for a cash drawer is going to be your cash drawer detail report. And as far as the discrepancy, when you notice it, is if you close your cash drawer out every day, and say, for example, you notice it was off of that day, you can run it for that cash out period. So if I'm doing it for today, for example, actually, I'm going to do it for the week. So as I'm filtering my cash drawer detail report, I do have the option to go ahead and select the cash drawer that I want to work with. So as you can see, I have too many cash drawers in my test environment right here. But if I needed to run it for specifically my BO cash drawer, I can just scroll down to that cash drawer on the list. Or if I want to run it for all cash drawers, then I can run it for all cash drawers on the list. So I'm just going to focus on my BO, and it will kind of give me in detail, what exactly was rung out for that specific cash drawer. That way, if something, I've seen instances before where you're trying to close a cash drawer out and the cash drawer you're closing out doesn't match up. And there's like a sum of money over there unaccounted for. I've seen cases before where somebody rung out the invoice on a different computer tied to a different cash drawer, and there's some kind of mismatch in information for it. In instances like that, it's just a matter if you still accounted for the money, you will still add it to your cash drawer closeout. It's just knowing that it was collected, it was just on a different cash drawer. But if it's the case where you have a difference outstanding and it's not showing up on the report, then tells me that you might have a bigger issue than just money missing from your drawer at that point in time. So the cash drawer detail report would probably be the best way to start, though, if you do have any missing or what's the word I'm looking for? Any discrepancies in funds that are not accounted for from the cash drawer. I think that is L Stillwell was asking, can you discuss the parts adjustment mentioned briefly this morning from company setup? Okay, yep. All right, so as I mentioned earlier this morning, about the parts adjustment in company info, you do also have the ability to just automatically post the parts adjustment. Yep, so the option right here in company information is just for you to post parts adjustments by batch. So the setting right here in company information, it just gives you the ability, instead of doing it on an individual basis, you can do a batch of adjustments at once. Sorry about that. So yeah, it'll give you the ability to post a batch of adjustments if there's changes to inventory, as opposed to doing them individually. So maybe I misspoke this morning as when I mentioned that you have the ability to do parts adjustments automatically. It's not an automatic function. It will still need to be processed through the accounting screen. It's just that you have the option to do a batch or to do them individually. Sam says, I have a warranty agent issue. Sam.
Hi.
How you doing, Sam?
I was a bad accountant. So, yeah, it didn't go through my brain. We use the warranty and we have warranty claims. But to clear those warranty claims, I've just been doing a journal entry.
Okay.
Rather than, I guess, the warranty credits.
It's essentially the same thing.
But how do I clear it so the aging looks right?
Oh, so you've just been relieving the account, but it's still showing up on the report?
Yeah, I've been doing a GL level entry rather than actually clearing the aged warranty. And now I look at the aged warranty report and I'm like, that's ugly.
A bunch of them out there on the report still?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
For like a year.
So we can probably look at that together, Sam, but I think the probably the best thing for you to do is have you been just writing them off to a adjustment account?
Yeah.
So I think the best way to probably go about handling that is to probably process them through the warranty credit screen that will relieve them from the report. And then once we've relieved them from that report, then we could probably just delete the journal entry. That way we don't have duplicate entries in the system. That way the report gets corrected. You already have your adjustments in the software already. And then the deleted transaction will probably just, be over and done with. But we can look at it together.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm seeing the list now. So I'm gonna answer Sarah's question real quick. She said that we had issues with printing a PO. The screen went black on one day. Are you talking about the pop-up setting, Sarah, or are you talking about for just printing the POs in general?
Just printing the PO.
Okay. And is this for Motility Anywhere or Infinity? Okay. Tyler, you might have to kind of walk me through the setting right here for the So essentially what Sarah is saying is she had an issue where she was trying to print a purchase order, and the Chrome set she wants to know how to adjust the Chrome settings to allow the pop-ups.
Oh, I got you.
So I usually do it whenever I see the pop-up right away. I kind of have an eye for it and I click it and adjust it right then and there. But I'm gonna have Tyler kind of walk me through it, how to get to it.
Go to the triple dots.
Yep.
Go down to settings. Privacy and security.
Know it roughly.
Site settings.
Mm,
And all the way at the bottom of site settings, you're going to see where it says pop
Pop-up and redirects. Yep.
and the allowed section.
So are you following so far, Sarah? And essentially what you want to go in here to do is go to the allowed settings right here, and you want to add your Motility Anywhere URL to the list, and that will allow those POs to print without encountering any pop-up blockers.
So you can tell it too that if the issue persists after this, where it won't open, it could be that they have a special character located either on the unit with customer or some bit of information that doesn't belong, because that will also stop it from popping up too.
Okay. So shorter version of it, Sarah, is if it still encounters after that, there might be something else that we need to look into. So you can always reach out to us and we'll look at that for you if it still persists after that. And I did see your response to Sam right here. It could be a mismatch of the entity reference, but like I said, every case is different, so I really have to take a look at it to really know. So jumping back to El Silva's question at the top, she asked earlier, are those adjustments from Parts Master Inventory or a cycle count? Usually it's from Parts Master Inventory directly when there's a change made on that part number, whether it's going to be any cost change or any quantity changes. So is it possible to run a cash drawer summary report to reflect changes made to a transaction? So the summary only really gives you like a bulk number of what's hit that cash drawer for that day or that week or however you have it filtered by. It's not going to really give you a good idea of where something may have went wrong. So I probably wouldn't recommend a summary report, but if you do prefer it and you found another way to make it work, please feel free to share. But I've never really had much luck running the summary report and kind of finding issues. The transaction detail is always the one that kind of helps me pinpoint issues. All right, so I have seen this before actually, Carly. So it sounds like, and I'm paraphrasing right here, but it sounds like you took a deposit on a customer on the deal, and the customer got changed on the deal, and then that deposit is reflected as like a negative deposit on the customer's entity. So how the best way to handle this in the software is to, if you recognize that the customer is wrong and you need to go ahead and update the customer on the deal, you want to go ahead and just do a reverse deposit while that customer is still on the deal, update the deal with the right customer or the buyer's name, and then reapply the deposit to what it needs to be. And that will kind of, adjust that discrepancy if you ever come across it again. Yep. And like Tyler just whispered, reversing the deposit is usually the best way to go about handling most deposit issues. What is practice for recording an invoice paid via ACH? All right. So let me show us Infinity this time around. All right, so this is going to be pretty messy where entries are concerned, but the concept remains the same. So say, for example, I need to pay Mr. Gonzalez, and I'm going to go ahead and just enter his energy number from the drop down. And this is a response to Melissa's question about recording an invoice paid via ACH. So it looks like I owe him $13.60.84. So I'm just going to go ahead and pay all. And that amount that I need to pay is going to be that 1,300 and change. So if I need to record this as an ACH, that's fine. It's actually different in Infinity. Okay. But if I do need to record this as an ACH, it's just a matter of me clicking the auto drive button, and then I can kind of go in and just record this entry as an ACH. When in Motility Anywhere, if you click the auto draft button, it'll give you the option to kind of type in and open up that field for you to go ahead and record it. So not in Infinity, I'll just check the auto drive button, and then I can go ahead and process the payment. If I wanted to record the memo of the confirmation for the ACH, I can add a memo right here that will detail out that information. And then it's just a matter of me going through and saying that I have paid this one, so I can go ahead and just print it directly here from the check writer. Or if you prefer to do a manual entry from it, you can as well. But I usually recommend just doing it from the check writer. Reason being is because it pulls in all the right entity references and everything like that for each transaction line. And it looks like after I tabbed out of the field, it actually opened up the space for me. So I can kind of go in here as well and kind of typed in my confirmation number if I need to. For that payment. Yep. Of course, I do have an approval. And I'm going to go ahead and print it. So as you can see on my left-hand side right here, it has been recorded, and it will not use your next check number from this checking account or for which checking account you paid it from. And that is one way that you can go about and record that entry in the system for an ACH payment made to a customer or a vendor or any other organization that you need to process it for.
We did our daily deposits, took everything out, cleared out our AR. 3 days later, get a notice from the bank, check bounced. How do you undo that? Do you just go back into daily deposits?
All right, so as far as that payment goes, I think you may need to go back into the transaction and make an adjustment for it. Or you can reach out to the customer and find out if they can cut you another check. But essentially what you can do is go into your, go into your bank reconciliation screen, and you can find that deposit. So I'm going to try to find the one that I looked at earlier, or was working with earlier. All right. I'm just going to grab one of these. But essentially what you can do is you can kind of go back to the deposit made and make the adjustments in here on the transaction line at the bottom. Now, mind you, if it is that you're going to make an adjustment here and not try to find a different way to receive the money in from the customer, then what will happen within the bank rec screen is you'll make the adjustment, and then there will be 3 entries in there under that reference number. One would be the reversal. So you're going to have 1 positive entry and 1 negative entry, and then a new one with that same entry as well. But it will probably be for you to go in and modify the transaction within that original deposit if you want to reverse out that entry.
So I have to go back into the original bank deposit and change it?
Yeah.
What if I cross periods and I've locked the prior period?
You probably have to reopen it and make the adjustment. It can get pretty time consuming or messy, but
yeah, it was.
That will be the adjustment.
Okay.
Usually, yeah, I've only ever had somebody complain about that one time before, or mentioned that to me one time before. And I was just telling them that if the customer is able to pay, just have them pay you a different way and record it or update the entry. But yeah, trying to go in and modify the entry can get pretty tricky from time to time. So Did that something that specifically happened to you,
Yeah,
or just something you
we
thought of?
we got a check in December, so it actually crossed years. So we applied it bounced in December, and then they couldn't get us a new check till like January, February. So yeah, it made for like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
We were like, what do we do? Because we've already applied it, and you really can't kind of unapply it.
yeah. If it cross years, then I might have to do a little bit of digging to find out what's the best way to handle it. But if it's within that same calendar year, I know to go about it by just adjusting the original entry, and then it will show the reflecting entry for current month, and you can always push it back if you need to.
Yeah, can you find out about crossing years? Because I mean,
Yeah,
technically,
I'll find out for you.
when we close the period, corporate does not like us to reopen it, and
Yeah, I know.
they're like, "You just changed the financials." I'm like, "I know."
Okay, yeah, I'll make a note of it.
Yep. Cool. We'll use that for my 1 hour stuff.
All right.
Carly said that she just writes a general journal for deposits that are corrected after the fact, debiting AR and crediting the bank account. I don't know if that's helpful.
Sounds plausible. Did you hear that, Sam?
No.
So I think Carly said she usually just makes a journal entry. Am I at the top of the screen?
At the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, Carly was just saying that she usually makes like a journal entry for the deposits, and she corrects them by debiting AR and crediting the bank account, which
Can you just reference the entity and the invoice number?
yeah,
Okay, that'll work.
sounds simple enough, but I'll still look into it for you.
Thanks. Cool.
Yes,
Two
sir.
solutions.
Thank you, Carly. Security to limit P&L reports so that only for one profit center and Is there a way to in security to limit the P&L reports so it only can be executed for only one profit center? Say yeah. One profit center department. Yeah, you can. So in security, there are permissions that you can restrict individuals by. You can restrict them by departments or profit centers. So looking in Infinity right now, I'll just use my user. Kind of show you what that looks like. But essentially, the profit and loss report is just a report with a certain security level. So I go into permissions, and I go to, I usually just go ahead and click all. And I type in PC for profit center. Then it would kind of give me my reporting options right at the top right there. So what I'll probably do is go in here and I can say, okay, for reporting access specifically, I can remove a user's access for that specific profit center. And if they don't have access to the profit center, then they also don't have access to the department as well. Yep, and they won't be able to post anything as well to that. Well, they can post, but they and not run the report too. So yeah. If it's just profit and loss and you don't want them to see the report, then you can just remove their reporting access for that specific profit center, which would also limit the department. But if they do need to work in accounting and post stuff as well, you can allow that or disallow that based on what you see fit for that individual or that team.
So they basically paid off half their purchase, and then they're like, "Yeah, I can't keep this," and so they brought it back. And the boss is like, "Okay, well, it's in really good condition, so we'll go ahead and refund what you've paid. But I mean, how do I get? I mean, I know I can just cut a check through AP, but how do I, remove the AR balance and then, refund not only that, but everything you already paid?" I mean, is there like a right way to do, basically a way to do a write-off for bad debt?
Yeah, so a lot of dealerships that I know, they usually have a specific GL for bad debt. As far as the GL type, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It could be an expense, but I might need to look into that for you. But
I
it's
guess where would I go in accounting to do that? To do that
yeah,
right?
so so essentially what you would do is okay, looks like Carly may have experienced this before. So are you typing in, Carly, or are you okay?
Can you hear me, Rowan?
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have some experience with this, but not a little bit different. What I would probably do is I would credit the AR balance and then I would debit your used unit inventory, and I would do that transaction from unit inventory. And you just need to make sure that your references and your stock number tie out on the AR line, and then your reference and stock number can be different on the unit inventory line because you'd have to assign it a new stock number.
Okay, so are you just essentially crediting AR and pushing it to a dummy stock number, or
No, I guess I put it right back to where it was, but okay.
okay? Yeah, so that's one way of handling it.
What's
And
your
just
way,
from
Rowan?
I was gonna say, just from my experience, like every dealership, every accountant has their way of handling it, so I can't really tell you where to push it. But I know for a fact that it would be a credit to AR just to remove it off their account.
Yeah.
Where you want to send it is entirely up to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you so much for your participation today, guys. I learned stuff. I hope you learned some stuff as well. And I'll be looking forward to our one-on-ones when I send those links out. So thank you, everyone.